Live direct from where the action is, the Knickerbockers, this Thursday night at the Lakeland Civic Center. Also, Florida's newest sensational show band, the Enticers, the Gatekeepers, and the Go-Mad. This big show and dance this Thursday night at the beautiful Lakeland Civic Center, sponsored by the Centaurs. Another Roy Sanchez production this Thursday night, the Knickerbockers. All right, now, baby. That is going to be some kind of a gas of a time. You're checking and jamming with yours truly, Charlie Brown, there to host that whole big grand affair with the fabulous one and only internationally famous Knickerbockers. Tomorrow night it is, Thursday night at the Lakeland Civic Center. We will see you there in Lakeland Town.
Hosted by Steve Ludwig. It's classic pop culture. It's classic pop culture. It's classic pop culture.
Thank you, Mr. Joe Mandica, Australia's gift to the world of pop music. Joe's the writer, producer, and performer of our classic pop culture theme song, and he is a true friend of the show. Speaking of true friends of the show, how are all of you doing? This is your pal and fellow fan of pop culture, Steve Ludwig, welcoming you to another edition of Steve Ludwig's Classic Pop Culture, right here at planetludwig.com. And here we are, show number 173. And this is a special video edition of our recent interview with Beau Charles of the Knickerbockers. Beau is the co-writer of the legendary song Lies, the lead guitarist of the Knickerbockers, and one of the vocalists. All four of the Knickerbockers sang. But oh my goodness, there's so much more to the story of Beau Charles than the song Lies, as great as that song is. Beau, with and without the Knickerbockers, has written movie soundtracks, appeared in movies and TV, written for TV, has written jingles, has quite a prolific solo career, and he's experienced the ups and downs of being in pop music. And Beau shares all of that and more with us. And oh yes, he is one heck of a nice guy. So let's get to it, everybody. Enjoy my interview with the wonderful Mr. Beau Charles. From when my older brother Bill first played and practically wore out that 45 RPM record, the one with the Black Challenge Records label, with the song titled Lies, followed by the Knickerbockers, I knew I'd be a fan of Beau Charles for life.
Wow, thanks. That's the best introduction I ever had.
Thanks. There's more. With his brother John, along with Buddy and Jimmy, forming the classic Knickerbockers lineup, Beau Charles, in the words of Rolling Stone magazine's David Frick, was making records as terrific as anything by their toughest competition, British or otherwise. But Beau Charles's musical output didn't end when the Knickerbockers' all too brief for us fans magnificent run did finish. He continued on with a career in movie, TVs, solo music, all those things that the rest of our lives were made more joyous by because he shared his enormous talent with the rest of us. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak with and welcome to classic pop culture one of my musical heroes, the one and only Beau Charles. Beau, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. God, I think we should quit right after what you just said, because that's fantastic. I think, and thank you very much. No, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a really nice introduction. Wow.
I'll tell you, I'm glad we're doing this via telephone and not Zoom, because if you could see the mess of questions and facts and things I am so excited to ask you, my desk is covered because there's so much I want to talk about, and I thank you so much for giving me this time.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's get, you ask me, I'll do my best.
Let's do it. Now, we opened up with Lies. And Linda Ronstadt, Nancy Sinatra, Styx, Gary Lewis and the Playboys, The Ventures, hundreds, scores of other artists have covered Lies. Now, here's my first of many rhetorical questions, but how does it feel to have co-written with Buddy Randell one of the most recognized, loved, covered songs in pop music history?
Well, Buddy was, first of all, a super talented guy that we admired long before we heard about him from the neighboring town before we even knew him and played with him. So once we got together with Buddy, we were like in awe of him. He was kind of like the unspoken musical guy that taught us all a lot. He was more experienced, but to write with him, he already wrote a part of Short Shorts that you kind of know from the Royal Teens with Bob Gaudio, who went on with the Four Seasons, of course. By the way, Bob Gaudio lived right up the street from us in Bergenfield on Phelps Avenue in good old Bergenfield. But anyway, Buddy, writing with Buddy was great. My only regret is we didn't write some more. Somebody should have put us in a room and made us, but it was a little more difficult when we came to California because before that we were like living in a club or the motels and going to play every night. But once we came to California, it was more spread out and we were all living in different places, and we would meet up at night to play, of course, but it wasn't as accessible to get together. But Buddy was so talented. He was so quick as a writer. I would just try to hold on and give him some places to go as the musician part of it, to give him chords or an idea to go somewhere. And he would Buddy could spew out lyrics very quickly.
And of course, you're the chief songwriter of the Knickerbockers, and of course with your solo career, but is it tough co-writing? Well, do you prefer doing it all by yourself? Or I don't know if I could be so good as a co-writer. Not that I am, but what do you?
Well, with a guy like Buddy, you're a great co-writer. I mean, some guys are just great. But when I wrote by myself after Lies hit, I really buckled down and tried to write some songs, and because it seemed like Jerry was an inspiration, Jerry Fuller, our producer. So I wanted to write, and for some reason, Buddy and I didn't really write much. You'd think we would have wrote the next hit, or tried to anyway. So I wrote Just One Girl, particularly to follow Lies, because I even kind of mirrored Lies a little bit with that song, I thought, at the time. So it was but anyway, they didn't release it till later, but and we didn't even have tape recorders then, so I would have to write it down and the chords and put it all on paper. But if you didn't memorize it, you'd forget almost. You know what I mean? So you had to make a lot of notes. I didn't have a cassette recorder even. This was 1965. I guess they're out there, but I didn't have one. I should have.
And I know sometimes, not that it bothers me to the fact that, how could people do that? But I know Lies has been compared to the Beatles, but, aside from it being harmonies, which there were plenty of harmonic songs before the Beatles and kind of poppy. I mean, I never, when I first heard it, and even afterwards, I never really thought that, hey, are these guys really the Beatles? Does that get you sometimes?
Oh, it's amazing. I played it for one day. I was in the supermarket and I was talking to the checkout girl about music, and she meant, I don't know. She said, "Were you in a band or something?" I said, "Yeah." She heard it from somebody else in the store, I guess. So I just whipped out my phone and played Lies, and the first thing she said was, "That's the Beatles."
Unbelievable.
It never goes away. Yeah. When we did the record, first of all, we played it live for a year before we ever recorded it. But we did that demo in New York, so maybe it wasn't quite a year. The demo in New York was very fast, but we were totally inundated with the British invasion. We were playing all these songs live. We were a cover band. We played the Beatles. We played the Zombies, the Kinks.
I guess you had to, right, Beau?
Everybody.
Yeah.
And me and Buddy and John could knock that stuff off. Jimmy didn't really participate that much in that kind of part of our repertoire. He did Orbison and R&B stuff.
Right.
But as far as the Lies, that was basically me, John, and Buddy. Jimmy sang some oohs and ahs in the background, but we had that sound, and it was so simple. I was on the bottom, Buddy was the third above, and John was on the fifth above that. We did Lies. It was like we sang a D, an F sharp, and an A, and John was on a high A and a falsetto, and that's then Lies. It just worked, and so we were really good at that. When we did the recording, we didn't even, all I know is when we came in after the final take of something, we just went, wow. It just came, it was screaming off the speakers. And believe it or not, our record company was so lame, they didn't even think it was the A side. So, we were dealing with, it was problematic, to say the least.
I was going to ask this in a couple of minutes, but being you mentioned the record company Challenge Records, are you in agreement with several articles that I've read that One Track Mind, the song we also heard before, Lies, although it was a top 50 hit, it was a much greater song, but because of Challenge Records, I don't know how to put it nicely, but ineptitude.
Oh, you don't have to.
Okay.
They're defunct and gone. But
they just didn't distribute it well, correct?
Pardon?
They just didn't distribute it well. Is that a fair thing to say?
After coming off a good, strong hit like Lies, I mean, I've run into a lot of people. My brother, too, John, said, he runs into people all the time and say, wow, One Track Mind, I love that. A lot of people really liked it.
Oh, One Track Mind, what a song.
Yeah, it went to, I think it went to 36 or 40, or it went into 40, I think. But still, for a follow-up record, no, we wanted something in the top 10. You want to have that second record be stronger almost than the first one. Then you really, I mean, the hard part about groups, as you know, that first record is what a hurdle that is. If you get that first record, you know how many groups never got to that? Like we did.
Yeah.
But then you have to get the second and third. That's when you have to really get more hits. You have to, and then you'll be established. We didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. They didn't even say one-hit wonder then. We had 1.5 hits. I guess One Track Mind was a half a hit. So we were 1.5 hit one. But, that first hit was so important, and we were with a tiny company. And they had I think there were about 5 or 6 people in the whole of all of Challenge Records. They might even hired a secretary after Lies became a hit because they were getting calls and they had to do more stuff, because of the record. So they weren't prepared really either. If we were with Columbia or Capitol, we would have been, I think, maybe huge, possibly.
Well, that's, of course, you speaking, but you guys were huge for that all too short period of time. I mean, everybody knew and covered Lies. I think every garage band in the country had Lies in their set list when they played.
I love that because it was even garage band. And funny, like I always tell the story, our band rehearsed in the kitchen while my mother was making meatballs and spaghetti. You know what I mean? We had a big kitchen and had like a nice echo in there, so we always rehearsed in the kitchen.
So you were a kitchen band, actually.
We were a kitchen band. But the garage is funny. But, I love that I've seen some great comments on Lies being an inspiration to many guys later. I'm talking about the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Absolutely.
They hear Lies and they go, whoa. And, the song, the recording is strong and it's really us. And we didn't really play with it. It was just Jerry Fuller, our producer, was smart enough to know not to do much with it. We just went in there and played. We were standing up and like jamming like we're in the club, It was the way we had to play because I told this story before, but a lot of musicians, the studio guys, would come in and sit down, and we weren't a sitting down kind of guys. We were used to up there standing and pumping it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were standing right next to Jimmy, me and John. John was playing his bass. I'm jamming on the guitar, and Jimmy's beating the shit out of the drums.
Right.
And that's how we played a lot of our, especially the rock tracks. That's how we did them to get that basic track. And that's the way we loved. And Jerry Fuller it was great that he allowed us. He didn't try to overproduce us, basically, And yeah, good.
No, I was going to say, I have trouble. It's a cliche, but I do have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast yesterday. But do you remember about how many takes it took till you guys said this is what we're putting out. This is our version of Lies that we love. How many takes?
The demo version in New York was at that little cheapo studio right on 48th Street. That was our first really recording experience with Jerry. And me and Buddy had just written a song. We had started to play it live at upstate New York where we were gigging. This is 1960, early 65-ish. Before we came to California. It was late 64, so I think we wrote it in 64. And then we started performing it. But we cut the demo with Jerry really quick. We never even finished really finished the whole song as far as an arrangement. If you notice, the demo is only about, a minute and a half long? I think
it's absolutely under 2 minutes, sure.
We were in Hollywood now. We're in Hollywood at 65. We're playing, and we were going to do some recording. And one night or day, Jerry said to me, because I basically did most of the arrangements as far as, like, especially working out the harmony voices, because I knew everyone's range. So I knew how high John could go and how high we all could go. And so I would figure out the parts and do things like that. But anyway, Jerry said, we're cutting lies on Thursday. Work it up. And he said, and make it about 2.5 minutes. I swear to God, that's exactly what he said to me. So I said, okay. And this was like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I went home that night or the next morning, and John and I were rooming together. We had played that night, and I started messing with it. And I had a watch in front of me with a second hand, and I was trying to figure out how to make it around 2.5 minutes, because we had never played it that long. We'd never had a guitar solo or anything. So John was there with me. He had his bass. He worked on his bass part at the same time, and then we lengthened it. I put the solo in, and then we put a last verse in, which was never in there before. And then the morning we cut it, we went to Buddy and Jimmy were there at the studio. We never even ran it by them until we got to the studio. And then I played it for Buddy, me and John did, and Buddy just basically adjusted and changed the lyrics here and there, and that was it. And then we cut it, the track, in probably, I'd say 2 or 3 takes. I think there was maybe, I know that there's one that they put out, it's just a track of lies. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a track without the voices, and it's one of our earlier takes.
I think it's on the,
it is on that. Yeah,
on the Sundays box set, Mm-hmm.
And then my solo was different, and some of the fills were different. We were basically learning it as we did it. Jimmy was adjusting, because Jimmy was, maybe he thought he was playing too many fills, and we were learning. We were still young guys. We hadn't recorded much, and so we were getting used to the waters, so to speak. We learned that less was more a lot of times when you're recording.
Yes. You mentioned your guitar solo in Lies. That is so killer, Beau.
Oh, geez,
it really is. I mean, it's just unreal. I mean, I see old shows like Chivalry and other shows, and I know it's all synced, but holy smokes!
Sure.
But I mean, just to hear it is just incredible.
Well, thanks. I had the Rickenbacker, which I wish I still had, and I put it through my little Champ amp, a Fender Champ, great little amp. It's a 5-watt amp. It's tiny, great for rehearsing and stuff. But if you cranked it up, I got that dirty sound that I liked, a tube distortion, they call it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was then. All I know is I liked it, and when I took a solo or something, that's what I used. It just broke up really nice, and that's what I used on Lies. And I put the guitar on twice, which probably gave it even more meat. When we went to Leon Russell's after we cut the track, we did the vocals up at Leon's, or we did. It's kind of a little vague, but and all I know is the last vocal track, when we doubled the voices, basically, that's when Buddy did his ad libs and I did the scream, and that's when. And we went, holy shit! And that wasn't rehearsed; it just happened on that last take.
Oh man!
And Buddy was great at ad libs. Buddy could ad lib, the Star Spangled Banner. He was just.
Was he a character?
Really inventive person. He was very creative.
Hey, how was Leon Russell to work with?
Well, we met him, and he came in the studio. He came in Red Velvet, where we were performing after we took the town by storm, really. He came in to hear us because he was hired, not by us, but the record company decided on him to arrange some of those songs on the Lies album. And so he came in and listened to us play live. So that's what a good arranger would do, is come in and check out the artist he's going to arrange for. Yeah. So he came in and checked us out in the club one night. Then he asked us, me and Jimmy, one time to play a little demo of Wishful Thinking. So I just played the rhythm guitar and Jimmy sang it. I did that little lick on Wishful Thinking, that da 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 da, and he used it through the whole arrangement, which I loved. He even came up to me and said, "Oh yeah, I like that," so I put it in there, and I said, "Great." Whatever. But Leon was super talented. He played great piano, too, as you know. And,
of course. He went on to have his...
He wasn't a household name by any means yet.
No.
He was an in-town arranger. He was an in-town wrecking crew kind of piano player. And I'm sure he was maybe singing and he was thinking about it, but that didn't happen until, 5 years later, maybe? when he came out, 69 or 70 is when
maybe, with Tightrope and songs like that.
He was a good guy. He was really...
That's good. That's nice to hear.
I watched him conduct. He had a full beard and long hair. We called him the Wolfman, I think. But because we hardly knew him, but we said, wow, he's arranging, he's conducting. And we'd never been in a session where we had 30 or 40 musicians, and this guy conducting with the baton as we were singing live. That was a real thrill. You know, we were doing it live. It was not, we didn't overdub there. That was all how it happened, you know.
I think he played with the Shindig band, but I could definitely be wrong. He did. Okay. Yeah, I thought And
the Shindig, there's another thing. The Shindig crew all came into the Red Velvet. I mean, we went to Hollywood. We were meeting all these big heroes of ours, like almost from the get-go. The first night John and I walked in, Jerry Fuller was there. We had literally come right off the road, drove all the way to California from New Jersey. We get to the Velvet 5-6 days later. We walk in the club, and there's Jerry, and he says, "Oh, guys, here's Del Shannon." And there was Del Shannon sitting at the table. And we go, hi, Del.
Yeah,
you know, we were in, I mean, because, you know, Del Shannon was a big name and had Runaway and all that other stuff. So, and then when we started playing there, the buzz was, wow, you got to catch this group at the Red Velvet. And that pretty much started. And then all of a sudden, a lot of celebrities were coming in, singers, actors. It was kind of a Hairspray set. It wasn't a long-haired club, if you were going to get to that.
Yes,
it was, they almost wanted, the owner liked us because we weren't long hairs yet. And their clientele was kind of more actors and some musicians, but not. It was Glenn Campbell was in there. The Righteous Brothers came in there all the time.
Oh my God!
They stole our drummer later, as you know.
Yeah, when Bill Medley took a break.
Yeah, and when Bill Medley bowed out, of course, Bobby romanced Jimmy, and Jimmy went for it. But there was stuff leading up to that.
You know, you mentioned about how the clubs you were playing, they kind of wanted this kind of. For lack of a better term, button-down look. Here's a quote by you. We were kind of on the cusp of the old days and the new days. You were kind of like just about ready to cross over to the kind of, I don't know, long hair, bangs look.
It's so true. I mean, it is true because my brother and I were playing. John and I were in a little band in Bergenfield called the Supremes, and we were playing dances when we were like 15, 16 years old. And then we got slowly into nightclubs. We had to have ABC cards because we were underage and they were serving liquor, so you had to have an ABC. They called it alcohol control. That's what it stood for. But anyway, so when we started playing, we all wore matching jackets, and it was kind of thing. But even with Buddy, when we got together with Buddy, he was a guy that was in show bands, and they wore patent leather shoes and matching suits.
Yeah.
And that was like, even you look at old footage of like even Joey D and the Starlighters, they were all in suits.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It was, in fact, Buddy worked the Peppermint Lounge with another band. They were opened up for those guys. Yeah. But anyway, everybody was very clean, shirt and ties, and even the Beatles. Look at them when they first came out. They were very. They were all in suits.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but we were playing a lot of that old material from the old days too, because that's how we got the gigs. We were still playing like Night Train and Honky Tonk and those early instrumental hits that all the bands played, you know. And we had a saxophone, which was at the time, saxophone player. If you had a good sax player, it was worth its weight in gold because he could play all the standards. And we did some of those. We did them at wedding gigs. We were just musicians trying to get gigs, you know.
The sax was one of the main reasons, there were many, that I love the DC-5 too, the Dave Clark 5. I mean, that you put a wailing sax in a rock band, and it's like, forget it, man. I'm sold.
Yeah, and Buddy could wail. I mean, he was known for, we knew him. He would go down on his back and his knees, but he could really play. Buddy could also play, which we also played some of this stuff. We did like semi-jazz stuff. He did like April in Paris and Secret Love and a swing jazz. Buddy was on alto sax. He was like a Neurobostic type. He could play all that stuff.
Harlem Nocturne, you guys covered well.
He also worked with King Curtis in New York at Trudy Heller's.
Wow.
And he loved the King. He loved King Curtis.
Of course, wow.
King was a great tenor player. And Buddy could stand up there right with him and play along with King Curtis.
Now, this might be a good time. We've mentioned the members of the classic band, but maybe could we just kind of go through quickly and well, not quickly, as long as it takes us, talk about classic lineup. Now, of course, you, guitar, vocals, the chief songwriter. Now, your brother John, is he older or younger than you? I'm sorry, I should know this.
No, it's cool. He's about a year, and I think he's 15 months older than me.
Okay.
He was born in 43 of July, and I was 44 October.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about 12 to whatever that is. 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, about 15 months. Yeah, so he was older brother. I started playing first, and John was always the singer. I was too shy to sing in the early days. I just wanted to play my guitar. I was totally crazy about guitar, and I still am. I still play all the time. I'm trying to get better all the time. I still love it. You know guys like that. They're dedicated to playing still.
You're a musician for life, Beau.
Yeah, and John picked up the bass a little bit after, and great, because we thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if you played bass? And then he did, and we had an influence. A boyfriend of my sister was a musician, and the first time we saw a guy play guitar in our living room, it was him, and he came in with a Dan electric guitar and a little amp, and he sang a few songs in our living room with a guitar, and we were going, holy crap. We were in awe. I was about 13. I was like 13-ish. And I think I went down and tried to find a place to take lessons literally the next day, because I was just enthralled with it,
Yeah.
And then John sang, I played guitar, and then John added the bass, and then we started playing the gigs as young kids, the VFW dances, all that stuff. Good old Bergenfield was basically where we learned a lot. And then when we ran into Buddy, that was a big move for us. I was right out of high school. I think it was 62. And we almost started going on the road together right away.
Was it Buddy or Jimmy who heard you and your brother playing and said, wow, man, I want to get in on that gig?
Oh, that was Jimmy.
Jimmy, okay.
Me and John and Buddy. Now, Buddy also, a lot of people don't know this, but he was a great drummer. I mean, not fancy with a lot of fancy fills, but wow, what a feel. And he played hard, and he had a good foot, and he played offbeat stuff on the bass drum. He was cool. And Jimmy, well, anyway, we were playing a trio gig. My dad got us. It was a Memorial Day thing right in Bergenfield. We played in an empty supermarket. They just said, let's put a band in there and all the kids can come in. And meanwhile, the parade was going on and all that stuff. But we played just a trio. And Jimmy happened to walk in with his girlfriend, and he watched us. And we were just playing like Little Richard, Chuck Berry. It was like a power trio. And Jimmy said, wow, I want to get in that band. And I don't think we connected that day, but we got to the point where we were walking around our town, Bergenfield, and saying, you know any drummers? You know any drummers that sing? And finally we ran into, maybe it was his girlfriend, and said, yeah, my boyfriend Jimmy. And we connected somehow after that, and then he came to our house, and that's when my mom heard him and said, oh, he's good, you better get him. And that's how we kind of kept him, because we were auditioning a couple of guys.
Yeah, your mom, Adele.
Yes.
She really was the driving force for Jimmy being in the band. Or at least she saw something in him that she suggested to you he'd be in the band, correct?
Yes, the voice. Now, Jimmy was singing not the kind of stuff we were doing. He was more in a rockabilly outfit at the time. He was playing with some friends in New York City. Well, he was in Jersey now, but he had still a little band in New York, which you might have heard. You might know the history of that. He was with the Castle Kings. They actually got signed to Atlantic. They had one record that came out called "You Can Get Him Frankenstein" or something. I have it somewhere.
I know of that song. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they got signed. But anyway, Jimmy was doing kind of maybe more rockabilly and stuff. But when we heard him, well, we exposed him. We said, you should sing this. You should sing that. We kind of influenced what he should sing because we heard what his voice could be accustomed for, and then he started doing like Orbison stuff, and then he started doing some of the R&B things because Jimmy could do some good like R&B tinge stuff. He had a good soul voice. So and then from there we just kind of got better and better, and we played a club for a few months, and that's where we really got tight because we lived upstairs, could come down in the morning, eat something, and then go and practice. And then we played all night and did the same thing the next day. So that's where the band really came together, upstate New York in Glens Falls. It was a club there.
Oh, sure.
My mom was influential. When we first started playing, she got us gigs at like these older affairs, so to speak. They were like dances for the people in their 30s and 40s. And she said, well, if you play for those people, you have to play these songs, and she bought us the fake books where all the songs were in.
Yes, yeah, yep.
And we just, she said, and she would check off the ones. Oh, you better play Stardust. You better play this. So she had some input. And you know what? She was right. For the times, we were playing mostly for older people when John and I first started. We were playing for people in their 30s and 40s. We would throw in the twist later on when they got a little drunk or something, and limbo rock. And this is all before the Beatles, and we do an Elvis song.
Yeah. And they all cursed
anyway,
you. They all cursed you the next day when they woke up with their bad back and sciatica, Beau.
Yeah, you know what? It's true. But she did. She probably nagged us a little bit, but we liked him too. And his drumming wasn't that hot yet. Buddy, I think at that time was probably a stronger drummer. But what happened as the weeks went on and months, Buddy and Jimmy would. I remember many times at rehearsal before we actually started, they would be doing something on the drums together. Buddy would be showing them like an offbeat thing, and Jimmy, he learned it fast, and they enjoyed doing that to each other and teaching each other. So Jimmy got to be a good drummer inside of a month or two.
Yeah.
Much better. So, and then of course his voice, Jimmy had the big ballad voice. He could do all those big, well, you heard on the album, he could sing stuff like You'll Never Walk Alone and all that stuff. He had that big voice. And we didn't have a guy like that. Buddy had a great kind of a pop voice. I was kind of like somewhere in there too, and John had the falsetto. So for the Beatles, it was great. But Jimmy had that other thing. That's why we were so versatile. We had Jimmy could do Frankie Valli stuff. That's why we were able to do covers of the Four Seasons.
Yeah, and Jerktown was that I'm assuming that was
Jerry
inspired.
Fuller wrote that, and it was the follow-up to our first little local hit, which was All I Need Is You. But Jerktown was something Jerry wrote. And tell you the truth, I might as well, I don't know if it's known now, but John didn't even sing that. Jerry Fuller's singing the lead on that.
I was going to ask you who hit that falsetto. Wow. It was Jerry Fuller doing that.
Yeah, because when we recorded it, we weren't thinking about the key too much, I guess, or John thought he could hit it, and it was too high for John. But John it was all in falsetto, that lead. You heard it.
Yes, sure.
So Jerry sang it, and when we did it live, which we had to do it live, was playing on the radio up in Albany, New York, where we were gigging. So we had to do it live. People came in and asked for it. So we had to lower the key to play it live, so John could do it, I think, maybe in F. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. But John pulled it off, and we kept it like a little secret. We didn't want anybody to know that we did. We did all the playing on it and the background voices, sure, but Jerry sang the lead.
Yeah, Beau, that's something I think that also sets the Knickerbockers aside, away from many of the other bands of that era, is you guys were really, really good musicians. There weren't many studio musicians on your records, were there? Or if
we usually just used if we wanted a piano or a keyboard. We would hire
like anybody,
a wrecking crew guy. Some of them were Michael Melvoin might have been one. He was a great player, and I knew him later years. But we had rhythm players. But we knew our business, and we believed in rehearsing, and we were prepared when we went in the studio. John and I had, it's important to learn a lot of the earlier stuff, there's a lot of knowledge there, and we learned those early songs. And then Buddy played that. It was good to have the chops to play even light jazzy stuff or good chord changes. We weren't just a rock and roll band that knew 3 chords. We knew a lot of chords, and we could play a lot of styles, and we could sing. Another thing about us, all 4 of us really could sing lead, and we were and we loved to harmonize and do 4 parts and stuff. So that was another strength. A lot of bands we ran across in those days, we had one singer, and another guy would maybe do ooh, ah once in a while. But we really worked on our voices, and that's why Jerry Fuller, when he saw us perform for the first time, he said, I want to do something with you guys. And that's what led to him getting us out to California and the whole rest of it. Because we were good live. We were really a good live band for that era. We were really good.
I've alluded to this a couple of times. This excellent 4-CD box set, the challenge recordings of the Knickerbockers. 4 CDs, demos. Just guys, check it out.
Everything but the kitchen sink.
Everything but the kitchen sink. And you would expect that from a kitchen band, but anyway.
Yeah. Very good, man.
But, you very sweetly dedicated it to your mom, Adele. This is nothing, I'm not breaking any ground here, but parents knew what they were talking about. As I've gotten older in life, you look back and you say, you know what?
Sure.
They were right. They were right. They were right. And it's so sweet that you dedicated this to your mom.
Well, you know, she came. She would come and see us perform, and sometimes they drove all the way from New Jersey. Her and a friend would come up and sit in the club with all these teeny boppers because they loved us to watch us play. And she, when we first had our record first played in Albany, up at it was All I Need Is You. It's kind of an old doo-wop. You've heard the song,
yes,
I think.
Of course.
And
sure.
that was our first airplay ever, and it did really well. There's people that request that there today, to this day and age. People use it for their wedding song. I mean, it was a big hit in the Tri-Cities. But she would stay up till 3 a.m. and try to dial in the radio station at our house in New Jersey, and she would get it sometimes. And she would hear us she would hear our record, and sometimes she'd hear the DJ said, "Oh, he said something really nice about you guys after the record played." She was into it, man.
Yeah.
She was a great. She loved music. She was a dancer when she was young, and she loved to dance. And her and my father were great together. They loved music. We had music in the house all the time. We were singing Christmas carols in New York City streets when we were like 7, 8 years old. Yeah. We loved music. We loved singing first. Me and John. We used to sing in the school play, and then when we started to learn an instrument, we went, "Oh my God, we got to do this more," because to play an instrument and sing a song is it's a great feeling, especially when you've loved music and you heard the stuff on the radio, and now you could kind of listen to it and figure it out for yourself and do it yourself. It's really a rush. Wow.
You know, Beau, I was going to ask you, and I think it was kind of I think I would have known the answer, but you did play music in your household as kids. Obviously, you were exposed to it. And you just mentioned playing and singing. I am a lay person. I don't play any musical instruments. How the heck do you play guitar and sing at the same time? I just can't. I would never be able to do that. Was it tough to first learn how to do that, or did it come naturally?
For some guys, it might be. It depends. You know, I thought about that question because you mentioned that, but the only time I had a problem was where I had to rehearse something. If you're just strumming a chord changes, you can pretty much. It's very easy to coordinate your vocal. In other words, there won't be any tension between you. You can do it. It could be smooth. The only time I had to work on something is when I would play a line like say One Track Mind. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. Now I had to play that on my and sang There's No Denying, and so that was kind of like a little offbeat thing. So I was doing two different things there in a way. Mm-hmm. When you're strumming, you're just going zing, 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 zing. But when you're playing da, 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 a line. I remember I had to work on that a little bit before I could do it comfortably live, But that's the only problem I ever had. But then, of course, when you're recording, you don't have to worry about that generally. Yeah. You're doing the singing after.
True. I had read or heard in an interview somewhere that B.B. King, that was one of the toughest things for him to do. That's why many of his songs, then he would sing with no guitar. Then he'd go back to the guitar, go back and forth, back and forth. He said that was the toughest thing for him to do, is sing and play guitar at the same time. So
maybe that's why when he would sing a phrase, then he would play a phrase.
Right? Yeah.
And whatever he was doing, it was good.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah, he's great.
You know, we've mentioned a few times Bergenfield, New Jersey. You know, people hear Lies, or they hear it on the radio, or it comes up. They were from Bergenfield, New Jersey. I mean, you guys are still superstars in New Jersey. I mean, you're superstars all over the music world, but could you tell us where, us Jerseyans know the answer, but where the name the Knickerbockers came from?
Well, sure. Well, of course, we were going. We met Buddy. He was with a band called the Vikings, and we were the band called the Supremes, and we actually played a big dance together as like two bands, and it was good. It was a big night. But Buddy was in an older guy band, and they were very good. But and me and John were kind of not as experienced, but Buddy took a liking to our vocals, and anyway, we started working together. But I don't even know if we had a name before. I don't even know. I mean, we might have called ourselves the Supremes for a while because Buddy kind of joined our band, and we were still the Supremes, and we did a few gigs together. And then I don't know I know where the name came from. Buddy lived on Knickerbocker Road, right by the Dumont Circle. It was right there. He lived. I know the address. I won't mention it now because I don't want people to go and knock on their door or something. But so he lived on Knickerbocker Road, and I don't know. I guess one day we must have talked about it, and Buddy must have just said, "How about the Knickerbockers?"
Yeah.
And, later, a lot of people said, I didn't like your name, and, because everything was like the Beatles and the Stones and the Critters and the Zombies. So our band was kind of sounded like, I wish we would have just called it the Bockers or something more.
No, Knickebockers is cool. It's a nice,
but anyway, it worked. We were Buddy Randell in the Knickerbockers for all in the beginning, because Buddy was basically the leader, and he was the main attraction. He was the center guy on center stage. He did all the announcing mostly. John did too, and Buddy he sang his ass off, and he played great saxophone. And we were, like I said, just trying to hang on until then we finally learned and we got better, because he was like setting an example for us,
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to be him to be proud of us in a way, really. So that's how much we admired his talent. Mm. So Knickerbocker Road was probably Buddy's thought, and we lived on Phelps Avenue. That wouldn't have been any good, Remember Dion and Belmont Avenue?
Yeah,
Belmont
sure.
Avenue, I believe. So there was a time there where people would name themselves after their streets and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But that's kind of like being on the cusp. We were when we first started playing together, the Knickerbockers, like I said, we wore suits. We combed our hair. We had a tie on.
Mm-hmm.
We wore, we looked very polished, like we were going to play, the room at the Ambassador or something.
Yeah. Makes me feel warm, and I'm so glad that I'm speaking with a fellow New Jerseyan. Aside from your great music, it's just always nice to speak with a fellow New Jerseyan. Everybody in Bergenfield, go Bergenfield, go Bergenfield. All right, now we're going to. We love you, Bergenfield.
But it's true. I just reconnected with the alumni site. It's fun. They show pictures of the town, and we talk about all the things, all the teachers, and other things. The band, Al Di Meola came from there. The guitarist.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And the Four Seasons. I think who else? It was somebody else from there too. Well, we worked with Linda Scott, who was nearby. I think she was Tenafly. Mm-hmm. And
Leslie Gore was
Leslie
she
Gore
a
was
Teneff girl?
Teaneck, I think.
Teaneck or Teneff? Yeah, definitely in that area. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Willie Nelson, who was Ricky's cousin, was right over in Tenafly. He ended up being. He tried to be a recording artist. We backed him up a little bit. We worked with him a little bit in New Jersey too, and he ended up coming out here too later.
My wife. Yeah. I digress too, but real quickly, my wife is a nurse. She works at Holy Name Hospital in Teaneck. And
sure, I know her.
Ricky Nelson was born in Holy Name Hospital. Anyway.
Yeah, now Willie Nelson, his father was Ozzy's brother.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, you're the perfect person to ask this. With your songwriting method, is there a particular, does the music come first and the lyrics? Is there ever like one kind of way you do it, or just whatever hits you, hits you?
Well, in the Knickerbocker days, a title would always inspire me. So I think I saw something on a billboard once, something about, we must be doing something right. It was like a commercial for something. It was on a billboard. Right. So I took it and said, and I made it, I must be doing something right. And I wrote about a girl that was falling in love with me, basically. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, I must be doing something right. Good. So anyway, titles I would get off of anywhere, from reading the newspaper or seeing something on television or hearing somebody say something. I liked a phrase that was like a catchphrase, so to speak. Things people say every day. And you do say that, I'm doing something right. That's kind of a good thing to latch onto. And then later, I would just maybe do a groove, take a couple of chord changes and do a groove, and then just scat something, even without words, just scat notes. And somehow you could get the words later. You could just get the feel, and maybe, and then just get the music first. It happens that way too.
If I'm not mistaken, I must be doing something right. I think that was the flip side, wasn't it, of One Track Mind?
Yeah. I was.
That's such a happy love song. I liked it too, and a lot of people think that sounds like a lot like the Beatles. Yeah. I don't know. I was in a good mood then. I was newly in love. Because you're the first girl that ever wanted to stay.
Helps. If you got a hit record, it's good to be in love because you'll write some good songs, or it's good to be brokenhearted because you'll write some good songs too.
Yeah.
Either way.
Mm-hmm. If I can quote a line, because you're the first girl that ever wanted to stay. That's a sweet, in that song, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, like I want to stay, and she was just one girl, too, just one girl. Yeah.
So Robert Giacchino became Beau Charles. How did that come about?
Okay, well, my middle name is Charles.
Yes.
I'm
Nice.
Robert Charles. I'm Robert Charles Cicchino, and John is Giancarlo Cicchino. So that's why somebody said why didn't Carlo? But Charles was my middle name. But early on, John and I were going well, my real name is Robert, but they call me Bobby, of course, and Bobby and Johnny, and we did Chino, so we used just part of our last name. So, but then later, we I don't know, a guy we worked with, a drummer named Joel Gray. He was in Jersey, and he got a gig, and we worked together at some club in Lodi, or I don't even remember, Paramus, I'm not sure. But he named me, started calling me Bashful Beau, because there was some girl that was trying to seduce me, I guess. I don't remember the whole story. And she was older, and I was like 16 or 17, if that, And so I wouldn't go near her. I was kind of afraid of her.
Still using Stridex, right, Beau? On the
Yeah.
Acme?
So he said, "Oh, Beau, you're a bashful Beau." And so I said, "What?" So, but then John, my brother, started calling me soon after that. He said, "Beau." I said, "What?" And he started calling me Beau, and I don't know. It just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So then we put Charles in when we started playing with Buddy, because we just thought, in those days, a lot of guys changed their names, especially Italian guys. They, they were Johnny Love and Vinny, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
We didn't use our whole last names. They were hard to pronounce, so we thought it was easier to just go with Charles. So I'm Beau Charles forever now. I mean, and John is John Charles.
It's a cool name, Beau.
Yeah.
A cool name. Now, once the Knickerbockers hit, you kind of branched out, and you guys appeared with a bunch of other groups in the Teen Beach movie Out of Sight.
Yeah, now that's a great story, because that's another example of us playing in Hollywood at the Red Velvet. So much opened up. I mean, the record hit there, first of all, which, well, that's a whole other story. But we were packing the place already because the word was out that we were such a good group. But this guy, Lenny Weinrib, I think he was either the director or the producer, was involved in that movie, Out of Sight. And he said, "I want you guys to be in the movie." I think he approached us. He didn't even go through Challenge Records or our management or anything. And we said, "Sure, we'll be in it." And then I guess they connected with the management. But he liked us, and this was before we had a hit. We were in the movie before Lies was a hit. So by the time we shot the movie...
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so finally, not long after, maybe, I think Lies hit started to get played in L.A. about 6-7 weeks after we were there. So by the time we shot the movie, which was sometime in late 65, I believe, could have been early 66 even, I'm not sure, Lies had become a hit, and they were thrilled, because now the Knickerbockers had a hit, which helps the movie, so he liked us just because we were a good band and we were causing some buzz in town,
Yep. I've seen the movie.
Yeah. We had to sing that song because
It's Not Unusual is the song that you guys sang.
Right.
Yeah. Well, how was that chosen?
Well, because basically, we did it live. Jimmy did a great cover of that, and Jimmy could do stuff like that. But what I remember is that it was one of their songs that was in their publishing. That was one of the songs they had in house, so they wanted to keep most of the music, any music they could, in house, so they would make even more money. So, and Lies wasn't a hit yet, so we were contracted to do It's Not Unusual. But Jimmy worked it up, and he did a nice job on that.
Yeah.
We looked so young. That was weird, because we got there early in the morning, was on the beach, and they put makeup all over us, really thick. And I think that might have been one of the first things we did. And it was like, yuck. It was about an inch thick, you know what I mean? And we had to sit around, and then, of course, it was color, so if your skin isn't covered with makeup, it'll come out all white. So they put this really dark tan makeup on us, because the lights bleach you out, So whatever. But it was a fun thing, and I think my brother met his future wife there, because they had all the girls dancing around us. Yeah. It was just like in that movie, That Thing You Do, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
It was almost like that movie, which is a few people have asked me about it. Mirrored a lot of our experiences. But anyway,
was it based on the Knickerbockers? that thing?
Well, I read one thing with Adam Schlesinger, who wrote the title song, the big song, ooh, but that was a good rendition, wasn't it? I saw it writing in an interview that, and I found it on my phone one day on YouTube or somewhere. But he was being interviewed, and they were asking him how he wrote the song and and he said the producers or whoever was telling him, write something like the Knickerbockers live. He actually mentioned us.
Wow.
As an influence or as a direction that they gave him. So, and a lot of other things in that movie mirror are like I Got Married in Vegas, like one of the guys. We came from a small town. We did a beachy movie, Out of Sight. They did that clam thing, whatever it was.
Too much of a coincidence.
One guy. Well, we didn't have the guy that went like a big ego trip like they did. But
it's too much of a coincidence not to have been influenced by you guys.
But we went to Hollywood, and that was for us to go to Hollywood, it was like in the movie, we saw a lot of different stuff here because it was just so different than the East,
Yeah. No, people ask me, how long have you been married? I said, I've been happily married for 25 years. Married for 41, happily for 25. No, that's a Henny Youngman joke. Okay. Anyway.
No, it's good. I like it. I've been married actually 34. I've been with my wife 37. This is my second marriage. We have a daughter 32. She's a great girl. Great. And she even likes, she loves our stuff, and she's heard all our songs. I was playing those CDs in the car when she was like 5, so she knows the stuff. Sundays obviously did a great thing for us by re-releasing all our stuff. I got to give them a shout out.
Yeah, Sundays. I think you guys, that was like the first major release on Sundays, this box set.
Yeah, Bob Irwin and his wife Mary.
Yeah, you really got them going as a company, your music. But
yeah, I think it was 20 classic tracks. It was the first one they put out on us. I loved it. I never heard I only had the old scratchy demos and 45, so it was great to hear the stuff all new, and he did a great job mastering it, and it's good.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd like to keep on the movie aspect of the Knickerbockers and you solo too. You guys played the theme songs for The Pad and How to Use It, and They Ran for Their Lives. Also, the Knickerbockers did 2 other movies of the 60s.
Well,
can we talk about those?
Well, I think we were kind of a hot band at the time. Lies was a hit. We were getting a lot of press. We were on a lot of TV, and and things looked really strong for us for that time. So basically, I think the way it happened was the companies that produced those movies came to our record company and requested us to do their title songs. Yeah. And we did. I think we did The Pad first. Yes, we did that in Hollywood, but we did, and that was kind of interesting. Jimmy sang it. We learned it. I guess we learned it fast, and we had a keyboard player on there too. And we did things pretty quickly. We probably rehearsed, and there, bang bang, was done. And it was then I don't think I even ever saw them. I might have saw the movie.
I was going to ask you.
They ran for their, Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask if you guys had watched the movie first, and then
No, nothing like that.
No.
No, it was just we did the song they came up with. We had a demo that we went from, and I learned the changes, and John and we worked it up, and then we were fast at that. We were very good at learning songs, because that was our business. We were a cover band really before we had records, and then They Ran for Their Lives. We were playing in Seattle at the time, and Joe and Jerry, Joe Johnson, the owner of Challenge, and Jerry, our producer, just kind of came up there and with the demo, and we listened to it in our hotel room during the day because we were playing at night. We learned it, and then we booked a small studio right there in Seattle. Wasn't a very good studio, but it was good enough, and we cut it there pretty quickly. I love the way that came out. Buddy sang it great. It sounded like it could have been a hit, It had a great groove, and anyway, but I have seen that movie.
Yeah. Okay. You know what?
But it was quick. But we enjoyed it. But we just, we got kind of like, okay, this is more stuff coming our way. We were just kind of going with the flow,
How about if we listen to both of those, The Pad and How to Use It, and They Ran for Their Lives? Okay with you, Beau?
Yes, I'd love it.
Okay. The Pad and How to Use It, and They Ran for Their Lives. That Knickerbocker sound, man, it's just the greatest. Now we're going to stick with the Knickerbockers in a couple of minutes, but I think being we're talking about movies now, Beau, in your post-Knickerbockers career, your solo career, you did you had quite a bit of work in movies. Can you give us a rundown of
well, mainly as a singer, I did. Well, I got into jingles for one thing. Even the band did. Buddy did some with us too. In the early days, we ran this fella, Chuck Bloor, who was known in the radio biz as he did Top 40. He introduced Top 40 out here in California, I think. And then he went into doing commercials. But anyway, we ran into him. He saw us play somewhere and said, "You guys, you want to come and do some commercials?" So we did, and we did very well. And we played them quick. We sang them. We were like a unit, you know.
Do you remember some of the commercials you did?
Oh, well, out here mostly, but we did them for all over. I did stuff for like Colonel Sanders. Mm-hmm. We did stuff for. I did something for call letters in New York, WABC. I can't even remember. I can't even remember. But anyway, we did a lot of products. I did stuff for fertilizer. It was hilarious. You know? But you know what?
But I'm sure it wasn't shitty. I'm sure it wasn't a shitty job, though, Beau.
No, it paid well. But you know, I enjoyed the work, and we were good at it, so it was okay. But through that, we met, and I'm later, because I continued to do the jingles. They liked me, they liked my singing. And that's another thing. He really gave me a lot of confidence as a solo singer. And they used me, and all of a sudden, you know, I was singing all the leads on their commercials. And I used to ask them to turn the lights down in the studio because I needed to get more ambiance because I was used to singing in nightclubs with smoke and all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I mean? And the studio was so sterile, you know, it was very sterile.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I met a lot of singers through those jingles because he would hire other singers too. And these were all these, basically, they were like the wrecking crew of singers. And they did all these movie soundtracks. They did stuff like from Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. They did Love American Style, Love American Style.
Yeah.
They were all very well. They were real fine musicians. They could read music like crazy, so you could put something from them. They could do it like bang, bang, bang. They were great. So I ran into some of them at Chuck Bloor's doing commercials, and they liked my rough kind of, I kind of had like the guy from Blood, Sweat, and Tears sound. I smoked cigarettes, so I sounded really kind of gravelly, you know. And they liked that because I sounded real. They were kind of more, they were very, not sterile, but they were very technical. So they didn't, I was good at improvising and throwing a lick in there and stuff. Yeah. So they liked me. So they hired me on some other jobs. And that's how I got to sing in some movies. And,
such as?
I ended up singing, well, Grease was one that I did background vocals on.
Yeah. Wow.
A lead vocal. Yeah, Grease was, that was a long session, too. There was a lot of singers there, a lot of people, and we just were singing all kinds of stuff. And I'm on, I don't even know, I think I'm on You're the One That I Want, doing some ooze or something, and one of the other ones, maybe the one she sings, I can't remember.
Hopelessly
but
Devoted?
Anyway, that's gone on for 40 years. I still get a little residual for that now and then.
Very nice.
You know, because that movie plays a lot. But then I sang on, whatchamacallit, Across the Great Divide Convention. Mm-hmm. I did Kojak's. I sang at least 5 Kojak shows. I worked with John Kakavas, who did all the music for the show. Great. I met Telly Savalas right in the studio.
How was he?
He was cool, and he had a couple of like big guys with him, like bodyguards. I mean, he was dressed perfectly. He was really expensive suit. He looked really sharp.
Yeah.
No, he looked almost
like
a mob guy.
Yeah, right.
No, he's cool. I just said hello. I didn't really. I met also what's his name, David Jansen, who was very nice. I met him on the Hario show I did.
You played a lounge singer, I believe,
because I was doing it as a SAG, a Screen Actors Guild person. So they always introduce you to the other SAG person. So I shook his hand, and that was about it. But
on Hario, you played a lounge singer, correct?
Yeah, and you know what? I ordered the CD, or the DVD rather.
Right.
And I'm all blurry. You can't even tell it's me.
Ah. We know it's that stinks, but you know it's
you. It's okay. Yeah, but, and so all that stuff Across the Great Divide. I did 3 Desperate Women, which was a TV movie. But you know, it was nice work. I really enjoyed the studio work. It was clean. You know, you went in. I learned the stuff. Sometimes I asked for the sheet music ahead just to get. You know, sometimes we had to go in there and write and like for Kojak, sometimes I'd go out and sing right in front of the whole 30 guys in the orchestra, and that was on a big sound stage with the screen where they'd run the film with the music to sync it. You know what I mean? It was, I never did stuff like that before. Basically, that's what I did for, that's all through the 70s and a lot of the 80s. I was doing that kind of work and jingles forever, and I was still, and I played guitar in all those spots and sang lead on almost all of them. So it was a living. It was all union, too. It was all AFTRA and AFM, and I'm still in the musicians union, and I'm still in AFTRA and SAG. It was, it seemed like, I got, I don't know if I told you this, but at one point in 73, me and John and Buddy and two other guys were playing a club in North Hollywood, and one night the place got torched, and we lost all our equipment. I didn't lose my guitar. Wow. I always took it home. Wow. But I lost all my amps and all my effects. John lost his great bass from his Fender Precision bass he bought new in '59.
Oh my!
And
heavens.
the drums melted. Buddy's horns melted, and it was kind of pointed. We still don't know why, but it looked like the whole fire was on the stage.
Man.
And none of us had insurance, like idiots.
And it wasn't an accident, I'm sure.
So that turned me totally off the playing clubs.
Yeah,
I just said I can't take this. This was '73. This was after Motown and Lodi and all that too. But I just said I'll do commercials. I'll do studio work. I don't want to play in for those scumbag club owners, know. And they didn't even try to help.
Who could care less about you?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't. We only had about 2 club owners in our whole life that actually came up to us and said, "I'm going to give you guys a raise. You're really doing good business." And it happened to us twice, and that was we were like, "Oh my God." It was really. Yeah. There are a couple of good ones.
Yeah,
but when that fire happened, I just talked to John about it yesterday, and he said I can't even talk about that because he lost his bass, and we lost all the Sun equipment that we were outfitted by when Lies became hit. They gave us equipment. We would say, "God, this is great! You get a hit record, and we got big amps and PA systems." Yeah. The Ventures gave us guitars. We got Mose rights. It was amazing. Yeah. It was really, we were amazed. All that stuff. But the fire was a killer for me. I was through with that.
I can only imagine, man. What phew.
But we carried on, and John, he was a lounge guy, man. He went right back out. He borrowed the bass, and he bought the PA system, and he kept going in the clubs. I just had enough, and I stopped.
Yep.
And he kept going.
Yeah. I want to get to your solo career, but I just, if I may, let's put a little bow on the, no pun intended, a little bow on the Knickerbockers period with a couple other things. Are you okay if I ask you a couple more Knickerbockers things?
Oh, absolutely.
You guys were regulars on Where the Action Is with Dick Clark.
Oh, great.
What was that experience like?
Well,
and with Paul Revere, working with Paul, you saw Paul Revere.
Oh yeah, well they were even more established than us, and of course everyone loved them on the show. They were a big draw. If you ever watched the show, they were hilarious for one thing, and they had great records too. Yep. And they did a lot of shtick, as they say. But the thing how it started was we were again playing in the Red Velvet. This would have been right around, I don't know, late 65 or early 66. We had already done American Bandstand, I think, or maybe it was before Bandstand. But that was the first TV show we ever did, American Bandstand. We were like, oh my God, we're on American Bandstand.
You've made it. Right, that's what
my wife got me a video of that on my 40th birthday, and I have it. So, and I'd never seen it except after the one time maybe. But anyway, Dick Clark came in the club and sat at the bar. I didn't even see him, but John, who was really good at spotting people in the audience, because at the Red Velvet, there were a lot of celebrities coming in, and we wanted to know who was there, So he saw Dick Clark sitting in the back having a drink, I guess, and he was checking us out. And maybe a day or two later, he contacted our Challenge Records, our management there, and he was interested in signing us as regulars. So we were like, oh, yeah. And he showcased us. We did a thing at the Century Plaza where he rented like a banquet room or with a stage, whatever. He invited all the press, the local magazines, all the teen magazines and the DJs. And we performed. We played about 5 or 6 songs. It was just us. And he came up after and spoke, said, this is the Knickerbockers, and they're going to be with on Where the Action Is. And it was really a nice day. And he was a really sweet guy, And then that was that. And then all of a sudden we had a schedule, and we were reporting to a set 2-3 times a week sometimes to do songs, and plus we were recording the tracks beforehand that we were going to perform, and we were doing stuff we already knew, but we had to re-record it, and we were doing covers plus our own records. We would lip sync to our records too, so it was busy. Mm-hmm. And that led on to, of course, the tours. But on Where the Action Is, back to your original question, it was great because everybody that had a record or at the beginning of a hit record, either they were local guys, local artists, or they came from all over the country. They came from the East. They came from the Midwest, wherever, and they came to California to do Where the Action Is. We do. James Brown was there, the Four Seasons, the Byrds. I can't even. Mamas and the Papas did the show. Every act. Barry Maguire. We met them all. We were regulars. We were there. You know what I mean? And it was amazing. It was really great. And of course, we had the Raiders were on the show. We were on the show. Linda Scott was on the show. Steve Alemo. And the dancers, they were all fun.
Yes.
No, it was a great, and boy, they cranked them out, and we were working hard. I mean, we'd get there early. It would be on a location around LA. Sometimes it was at the beach. Sometimes it'd be at an amusement park. Sometimes it would be at a mall. It would be all different. Whoever did the locations, we were just told, and we got there, and then we knew what we were going to do. They told us you're going to sing this song, and we were ready. And it was, but the meeting all the artists, and I'm leaving out a ton of them because we did the show steady for about 9 months. There was a lot of, and then we toured, and on tour they also shot the TV show.
Oh man,
it was a long experience. Jimmy always said, "Well, maybe we shouldn't have went on Action because we lost a lot of money by not going out on tour by ourselves. We could have did a lot better in a way because we were on salary with Dick Clark. I don't remember; it wasn't much though. Yeah, not considering he had us on television and we were on tour too. You know what I mean?
Well, you had that TV exposure.
What?
On the other side of the coin, you did have that TV exposure.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah. And we were pulling into towns, and girls were coming up to the bus screaming with pictures of us that they pulled out of the magazine. I mean, yeah, we had a little of that Beatle mania happen to it, sure. But we did later go out in a van. Basically, we rented a van, went up to the Northwest, up to Seattle. That was a great area for music. And we went up there, just the four of us, and this was probably in later 66, probably. We still were riding high on the hit, and we did probably a month up there of one-nighters. It was a grind, but we were received really well. We did, we were good live, and we even got better live.
Yeah.
We had a good sound. We had a good PA system we had echo on our voices. We were really, really good live. Local bands were amazed at us. Even established bands were amazed how good we sang. That was our thing. We were really a live act before we were a recording act.
Yeah, you paid your dues in that way,
and it was good. It was good because, for one thing, we played live, and that made a difference when we finally cut it too, because we had, we knew what we wanted to do. We knew where the peaks and valleys were and stuff.
We mentioned a couple of times, speaking of lives, that there was a demo version on, and again, I want to give all credit to the Sundazed 4-CD box set, and also your other albums are on Sundays. The Challenge recording, the Knickerbockers. There is a version of Lies demo. Can we play that if it's okay with you? And then I have a question to ask you.
I haven't heard it in a while, but sure, I remember it well.
Okay, let's listen to this very cool demo, and then Beau, I'm going to hit you with a question. Here we go. From the Challenge recordings, the Knickerbockers, that Sundazed 4-CD box set, the demo version of Lies. And now I have a question for you, Beau, and this you can look at this as a general question or if you actually remember specifically with the song Lies. But there's a song in the demo version, Gonna Break Your Heart Today instead of Someday. It might seem like a little thing, but do you remember why you changed it from Today to Someday? Or is that too...
I think that Buddy, like I said earlier, Buddy, when me and John rearranged it, Jerry said, make it 2.5 minutes, and I added things, and we tried to make it work, and we ran it by, and then we played for Buddy in the morning, the day we were cutting it, And he made some. I think he might have changed the Today earlier than that, but he may have done it literally the day. Well, we didn't do the vocals the first day; we just did the track. But he started thinking about it. I think he went home maybe and refined the lyric because, well, we had basically a new arrangement which John and I kind of put together, so we knew we had to lengthen it. So, but I remember the early demo. Well, we just heard it.
Yeah.
So it was the sound quality, of course, is not there, and we weren't. It sounds very thin and so forth. But Buddy was even doing something different with his voice. He was like bending live, and he left.
Yeah.
He kind of changed that too because it sounded kind of corny, and so he kind of refined because he was singing mostly the lead. I did the lead with him on the Lies, but he did Someday. That was all Buddy. And so he probably, I would say, if you change the word, it break your heart. He cut it down to breaking your heart, breaking my heart, instead of break your heart today. Gotcha. Yeah, I forgot about that line, break your heart today. You just said it. But that's the beauty of having a second shot at recording that, and it really paid off for us because the song wasn't. I listened to that demo and I go, wow, gee, we sure made it better.
Yeah, but it's such a cool piece of Knickerbockers history to listen to. I'm so glad it's on this set. It's and hey, listeners, there's a lot of those previously unissued and demos on this challenge recordings. Definitely pick it up, guys. I mean, I proudly own it, and it's on my music shelf.
It was great. That's what Sundays is great, and when they wanted to do this set, by the way. I that's when I contacted, I believe, my mom or my sister to go to my mom's house and send out everything she had with the clippings and the memorabilia. Yeah. And I, of course, have a box or two myself.
The booklet is fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, and I sent it all to Bob Irwin, and they sent it all back to me when they were done with it. But it makes it, wow, there's pictures in there that really, it's like a life history of our band, really. Yeah. And that's great, and I still have that stuff. So that made it even better. And, of course, David Frick and Dominic Priori, who, you know the book, Riot on the Sunset Strip?
Yeah, I know of the book, definitely know of the book.
Now he wrote that. Dominic Priori, who also wrote, our liner notes on the box set. But it's a good book, and he mentions us several pages in that book. It captures the whole '60s thing, starting around 1964 on in Hollywood, the Sunset Strip, etc. It's a good book. It's great photos and pictures of us, and he talks about our moment in time when it happened for us, because all these bands came down to see us. I mean, the Delaney and Bramlett were coming in, the Chin Dogs, Glenn Campbell, the Righteous Brothers, as I said, all these artists. And then our record hit, they were going, holy crap. And then we had lines around the block. It was amazing.
I love Glenn Campbell.
Oh, yeah. He played with us early on.
Yeah,
He was a friend of Jerry's, and Jerry actually got him to Hollywood. And then we met him through Jerry back in New York. He popped in one night with Jerry on a weekend or something, and he sat in. And wow, we went, Jesus. And he was on Shindig, I think, at the time. Yeah, but he wasn't a household name by any means.
Right. He was a member of the Wrecking Crew.
Oh, yeah. And then I heard him play. And in fact, I only had one guitar on stage. I might have had the 12-string then. I'm not sure. But I might have played along. But he played my Rickenbacker, and he was great. He played. He did a standard. He did Mean Woman Blues by Orbison. But there's people there that still remember when Glenn Campbell sat in at this little dinky club that we were playing in. Because it was a big moment. And then he became, and he played on our records. He played on Sweet Green Fields. He played on One Track Mind. He loved us, and we loved him. And boy, I admired him as a musician, of course, and a singer. And wow, could he sing? Yeah, unbelievable.
Now, listeners, I've been before we set this up, I chose some songs, some Knickerbockers songs, and some of Beau's solo records that I knew I wanted to listen to, and I asked Beau if he would be so kind as to give us some of his choices of Knickerbockers song, and of course, the sweet guy that he is, he did that for me. So. There were 4 songs that you chose. I mean, you could have chosen 20. You cut it down to 4.
Yeah, I looked through the whole list of the 20 classic tracks, and it was kind of difficult. I like a lot of them.
So I thought maybe we'd go down each one, and we're going to save one of the four for our closing song of the interview. But can we start with "I Must Be Doing Something Right"? No. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I like I said, I got the title like I would get a title out of, and I really wanted to write. I mean, to me, Jerry inspired us all to write, but I wanted to really try to write. So it was really a thrill for me when Lies was a hit. I mean, it's a great feeling to have a song on the radio that everybody likes and that you co-wrote or wrote. So it's and I wanted to keep it. It seemed like it was our moment in time to write more. Of course.
Yeah.
So I kept trying to write, and that was one of the ones I wrote early on. I liked, I liked the title, and then I just got that strumming thing going, and it came out relatively quickly, and I think I went up to Challenge Records with just my brother, and with an acoustic guitar. I think they had one in at the record company, and they just sent me in the back. Anytime I had a new song, they'd send me in the back with one of their staff, and he put a little tape recorder. He had a little tape recorder there, and I would just sing with one mic and a guitar. And me and John, I think it might be on the track on the 40 the
yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, so we just went in and demoed it. Now I changed it a lot, but like you do a song quickly, and then you refine it and hone it, hopefully. But by the time we recorded it. Yeah, Buddy helped me with the background part. I remember, Buddy, you could just say something to Buddy, and he'd say, I said, Buddy, what would the background singers do here? And Buddy would go, must be doing something. And all of a sudden he had something,
Yeah.
He was a great guy.
Knack, yeah.
And he was also complimentary. I think he was kind of happy for me or proud of me or something that, Beau's coming, he's writing songs, all right, because he kind of discovered us in a way, because he was the guy that already had a hit with Short Shorts, and he did a lot of stuff before we met him, But anyway, so we loved to please Buddy, and then he would help, he would help a lot on a lot of stuff. So unfortunately, I think he wasn't writing much himself because he brought his wife out, and not to make a bad thing negative, but she wasn't thrilled with California. I think a lot of people don't like it out here because it's so spread out. You know what I mean? It's big. Yeah. Everything's big and spread out here, and a lot of people don't like that. They're used to, and we weren't used to it at the first year. We were used to those nice small towns in New Jersey, and you know what I mean? It's more anonymous out here, if you whatever you call it.
How long have you been in California, Beau? Before we get to the song, I'm sorry.
I never left. We came out here for a 4-week gig, and I've been out here since. So that's 56 years.
That's a long gig.
Yeah, I mean, but the only reason we stayed, and I thought about coming back a few times when things weren't going well, or maybe after that fire with the Lost Army stuff, or maybe when the phone stopped ringing for a bit, and we all had those downtimes. As musicians, that happens to everybody. And but I never did. I stayed, and sometimes I would think about, maybe it's time to go back home, But I never did, and the phone rings, something would happen, and then, you get re-inspired, and you get a new project like we got with Lodi in 70, Mo West, and that's a little story we're going to maybe go into.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we listen to I Must Be Doing Something Right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Back to that.
And I mentioned it before, but I love the line because you're the first girl that ever wanted to stay. It's such a happy love song.
I like that line too. You're the first girl that ever wanted to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lyrics were always a struggle for me. I mean, the music came easier, the chord changes, but boy, I'm sure a lot of songwriters will say this, that the lyric is probably what they struggle with the most. They want it to just say it the way they want to say it. They don't want it to overstate it. It's like a science, I mean, I don't look at it scientifically, but I do struggle with the lyric, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's important, obviously, but you just hope for the best. You do the best you can is all you can do. Because once it's recorded, it's done,
Yep. All right, so the next one I thought we would do is My Feet Are Off the Ground, the David Gates Horns version 1.
Yeah, okay. I do dig that.
Okay.
I really like I like the song. And that went through a few different changes. I wrote it. I wrote a different version. It was basically the same, but I had another verse in there. But then I shortened it down to just what you're hearing, just really probably more just short and sweet, basically. And then when we had Dave Gates, I liked the horn arrangement he did, and I didn't even hear that until the day we recorded it. It's not like I got together with him. I think he heard a demo, I think, probably. But I wasn't with him. I never discussed anything about what I was doing because I was basically the main thrust of that song with the dun dun ding da da da, and that's what I wrote first, and then I wrote the lyrics.
I was going to say, so many cool time changes in that song.
Oh yeah, you can't dance to that one, but boy,
yeah, but you can listen to it, boy,
about
man.
That. I think it shows in a way where I was going, and maybe the band too. As a writer, I wanted to. It's a little different from what I was doing. It was still a love song, but I liked that it was getting a little more, I don't know, maybe getting to a different place for me, as a writer. Mm-hmm. So that's what I liked about it, too. It kind of sounded different to me, and I liked it. And Jimmy and John also wanted to start writing because they said, wow, we want to write, too. And then all of a sudden I was writing with Jimmy and John because they wanted to get involved, and I like that, sure.
David Gates, of course, everyone who later on went to success with Bread and his solo career, but he did all the horns on that, or did the horns arrangement on that, correct?
Yeah, and he was I don't think I ever met him before that day, and he was really very supportive. He did the arrangement. He wanted it to work out, of course, and it did. But he even stayed and listened for the vocals. So he wanted to hear how we did it, and he even made a suggestion I think that I might have used, which I liked about him. And then of course he went on to bigger and better things. But he was a talented guy, and I love the Bread stuff. But we had him early. I mean, he was a lot. That's what we say a lot. All these a lot of talents: Leon Russell, David Gates, Glenn Campbell.
Seals and Crofts wrote for you guys.
For us.
Seals and Crofts wrote for you guys too.
Seals and Crofts, yeah, and we spotted his talent right away. I mean, Jimmy was wow. He sang "Love Is a Bird" for us with a guitar, and we went, "Holy shit, who's this guy?"
Yeah,
and then we learned the song for our own. He was on the session too. He's playing acoustic guitar on that.
Oh, all right. Wow.
Yeah, you hear it right in the beginning. He plays a really nice little altered chord. Jimmy he's a super talented guy.
Yeah. My Feet Are Off the Ground was written by you, of course. And here's another, I know I keep saying it, but another cool thing about this 4-CD, the Challenge recording set. Now the next song we're going to hear was originally unissued until this box set, the unissued songs. And one of those is I Want a Girl for Christmas.
I love it because, well, first of all, my dad, when we started making some noise as the Knickerbockers, he was kind of a songwriter guy. He liked trying to write songs, but he gave me the title. He gave me that title, and I kind of followed it away in my head. And I think it was Christmas time, the first Christmas in California, probably. Yeah, it was. I just worked on it, and I finished it off, and I brought it up, and we demoed it. We demoed it quickly, and boy, and that's a demo you're listening to. But we did it really quick. We were well rehearsed. We did it quickly, but it came off good. The harmonies are there. The song sounds. I love the song, and it's kind of cute. And I always was. I thought Challenge should have said, "Wow, let's work on this. Let's do an arrangement. Let's make this one for real." Because a Christmas song is a great way to come around every year, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
I thought it had potential.
It has a forever shelf life. Christmas songs.
Yeah, right. And it was the only one I ever wrote. And but John sang the lead, did a great job because he had that nice high sound, that clean sound, and he did a good job in it. And we all did the supportive vocals. And wow, it's still, and the fact that my dad was a part of that, the title
makes it. Yeah, makes
he was
more
mad at me.
special.
I didn't put his name on the, hey, Bob, why didn't you give me that little credit?
Come on, Dad.
Come on. Yeah, and so anyway, but it was, I liked how it came off, and I hadn't heard it for years, and then I finally, when Sundays re-released it, I went, wow, that sounds good. It was good for as quickly as we did it. That's another thing about Challenge. Not to badmouth them, but they didn't know what to do with this really. That
must have been frustrating as hell.
And they didn't want to spend a nickel. You know what I mean? We went in and we never got paid for our sessions or anything, you know, and we never saw any royalties.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gee,
we get more royalties now, a little bit here and there now than we got then.
You hear that so much. I don't want to use the word that you were screwed, but you hear that from so many bands that we didn't get that we had what we had coming to us.
Yeah. Now later, well, if we get to Lodi, I'll tell you that
Yep.
we were paid for all the sessions that we all the recordings that we did. We were getting our union scale and all that. It was great. But you know, maybe because we were the artists with Motown too, Mo West rather, but. Challenge, I don't even know if we even asked. That's how Buddy Randell probably asked because Buddy had been around the block already. He did question a few of their ethical things. But, you know, I guess we just were excited in the moment, you know, just wanted to keep singing and keep recording. You know, we were a band, so we didn't want to upset the apple cart.
Now, what caused the breakup of the Knickerbockers? Could I even call it a breakup? Or
well, yeah, you know,
it
all led to the first thing was frustration first because After Lies was a hit. We were on, you know, we were rolling. Everything was good, and even One Track Mind. We were disappointed in how that did nationally, and then
such
the
a great
next
song.
Did worse. It was High on Love. So that would only hit 95 or something. So, okay, so that started to filter in. Why can't we get that next hit? And then Challenge was sending us, bringing us new material. I was trying to write. I was writing Feet Off the Ground and I wrote, What Does That Make You? I mean, I was given I was trying to write something, but they were giving us other songs. Oh, and then Chapel in the Fields, which was just, I mean, it was horrible. From Lies to Chapel in the Fields, I mean, it sounded like we all, you know, I don't know. So some of their obviously a lot of their suggestions we started getting like I remember once at my house we were rehearsing. They sent over a couple of demos, and I would play them and we'd listen to them, the band, and we threw them in the pool. I had a house with a pool, but we were pissed. You know, it was starting to get a little bit ugly, and then we actually stopped talking. So the first part was frustration, and then things started to falter in the band. And the first thing was that Buddy, just one night, we're playing at the Red Velvet. This was in 67, probably, I don't know the month, but he just was a no-show. And we said, well, Buddy's late tonight. It was like 5 to 9. Where's Buddy? 10 after 9. Where's Buddy? So we had to go on because our gig was to start at 9 o'clock. So we went on with just me, John, and Jimmy. And of course now, Buddy never showed. We called his house during the night. Where's Buddy? And I don't think anybody answered. And then we didn't know what happened. So we finally, maybe the next day, we found out that he just split. I think he came back to Jersey. He was unhappy with his marriage, and he was, Buddy got depressed, and, Buddy was problematic in his talent. He was a great talent. But we, like Jimmy would put it, he said, we had to babysit Buddy a little bit because he went a little too far. He drank quite a bit. But never faltered on stage. He could always perform.
It's just an extra burden.
He performed a little better when he was.
It's just an extra burden you don't need, though, right?
Yeah, and Buddy also had weight problem. We had to say, Buddy, we got to look good now. We're on TV. You got to lose some weight. Yeah. So we had to do. These were problems. A little bit. So he just didn't show up, and then, bam, there we are now we don't have the guy that could go back on the drums so Jimmy can come up and sing. Yeah. So we had to hire a drummer. We hired another drummer, Gene Peller. He was a Wrecking Crew guy. He would come in at like 11:30 or 11 o'clock so Jimmy could now come up front and sing his stuff.
Yeah.
And, so it was a big thing. And by the way, Gary Lewis wanted me. He wanted me to come and be one of his playboys. He wined and dined me and my wife at the time, and he took us out to the Brown Derby. He offered me a certain amount of money per week, work or not. And I didn't really want to leave the band. I didn't want to be a playboy, but I loved the Knickerbockers. I was loyal. I mean, there was no way I would leave the band. Yeah, but when Buddy left,
it's your baby.
Pardon?
It's your baby, you and your brother John. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, well, we all were very, California maybe screwed shit up in a way because there was other people coming in, talking to you and turning your head and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, Buddy left, so that was the first big drop. And then when Jimmy we had to hire a drummer. So the band was not the same. We were still playing because we all needed to get, make a living, So we hired an organist, which was a bad idea. I don't know why we did it. He went on, by the way, to be with the Union Gap. So he used us as his rep in his resume, and it helped him get the gig because that's how well respected the Knickerbockers were in town.
Absolutely.
If you say you played with the Knickerbockers, he went right to the front of the line, and he got the gig with the Union Gap.
Yeah.
His name was Barry McCoy. He was a nice guy. We had him for over a year with us. But anyway, Jimmy was being wined and dined and by Bobby Hatfield at this point. We didn't really know that was happening, and all of a sudden he just sprung it on us one night that he was going to leave and go and be a Righteous Brother. And we were like, I was pissed, to tell you the truth. Because I felt like, you're leaving this sinking ship now. Jeez,
Right.
thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I was angry. I really was. I don't even think I wished him luck. I regret that now because we became friends later.
Yeah, but at the time, at the time, why would you? Yeah.
But, as far as the band, it started to falter then. And then when Jimmy left, and me and John carried on because we still had the name. We still perform as the Knickerbockers. But with Buddy gone, we had to do lives without him. But we hired a good singer, and Billy Elder guy. We auditioned people. So we ended up with another lead singer, another drummer. We had to hire. Then we were a 5-piece. It was me, John, Barry McCoy on keyboards, and another singer and another drummer. And we rehearsed at my house for a month or so, and then we took a gig in San Francisco. And anyway, so that was and we called ourselves the Knickerbockers. We still commanded a pretty good price for a band. We could still get more because we had a name. We had a hit,
Yes, of course.
But and we were still good. We were well. And then, make a long story short, Buddy shows up in San Francisco out of nowhere. This would be 68-ish. And he just walks in, and he's looking for a gig. That's what Buddy was one of those guys.
Yeah,
sure. We hired him on the spot.
True to form, he walks in. Yeah.
Yeah, we would never tell Buddy, no, we don't want you.
Yeah, of course.
We put him up the first night, and it was perfect timing because our drummer, which we didn't know, this is another story. He was AWOL from the Army.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh!
They literally kicked 2 men. They were Army people, I guess. They literally came in one night and arrested him and took him away.
I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not funny. And he was gone.
Wow.
And Buddy, who's now with us again, was playing sax up front. But as soon as they took the drummer, I think they let him come back for a night or two, but then they took him away for good. Mm-hmm. And Buddy went back on drums until we could find a drum replacement because we wanted Buddy back up front. But that's how good a drummer Buddy was.
Yeah, you were saying he actually showed Jimmy some stuff early on.
Then
right?
we auditioned drummers right in the San Francisco club. We were playing right on this, right in what's it called? Oh God, there's an area where all the nude bars were, and the clubs, and the comedy clubs. It was a happening place. I can't think of what they call that area. It was the name for it. It's still there.
Yeah.
But so we put the word out there. We're looking for a drummer, and we had a couple of guys come in during the day, and we auditioned, and we found another guy, Ron Mercier, who was with us then again for the next few years. And then that band went as the Knickerbockers for a while, and then, then it goes to a whole nother little development.
Why don't we move to the White Whale Records, your Columbus Jones period?
Okay, that was basically a little after we were talking about. Buddy and I and John were fronting the Knickerbockers, the new version. It was with 2 other guys. And so we were gigging. We kept working steady. We played Vegas. We played San Francisco. We were still the Knickerbockers. We were commanding a decent price. The glory days were over. We weren't doing one-nighters. But, I think the most we ever got for a one-nighter was maybe $5,000. But that was big in those days, for us. Yeah. We were working a club gig for, $800 a week. You know what I mean? So to make $5,000 a night, we were thrilled with that kind of pay, But anyway, so we were still gigging, but we ran into George Tobin. I don't know exactly how, but he knew who we were. He knew a few of us with the Knickerbockers. Well, we were playing as the Knickerbockers, and he said, "Let's do some demos." And I said, "Well, I don't know if we can, George, because we're still signed. We're still under contract to Challenge. They'll jump on our ass or something, or your ass." Mm-hmm. So he said, "Well, we'll use different names. They'll never know." And we didn't go around telling people we were recording. And this George he had a little bit of a track record. He had done the record Cinnamon.
Oh, yes. Cinnamon. Yep.
Johnny Cymbal. Was it Johnny Cymbal? No. He
was Johnny Cymbal, but he went by Derek, I think, after that.
Oh, that's
if
right.
I'm not,
Thank you, Derek. That was the group, Cinnamon.
But he was Johnny Cymbal, yeah.
Okay, so George has produced that, and he's the one who's going, hey, hey, hey. He's on. But anyway,
okay.
So he was a real hot shot. He had a lot of chutzpah, a lot of confidence, and he knew how to talk. So he kind of whined and dined us. All of a sudden, we're in the studio cutting stuff with him, and we did a few things before even the Columbus Jones. Then we did something, Buddy singing lead. We did something called Love Tunnel. It was a good rocker. We did, some others I don't even remember. I don't even have copies to. He would do a master. He would cut a record on it with his own money. He would pay us nothing. You know what I mean? So he's got the band and the vocalist pretty much for if it goes, you'll get some money. So we did it. Of course, we wanted to play and sing. So then he would make the master, produce it, master it, and then he'd go and knock on doors at all the record companies. White Whale would be one. He'd go to Columbia maybe, and he would probably sell the master. He did. This is what he did. He'd sell the whole master for $5,000, $8,000, $6,000. And maybe he only had invested in it less than $1,000. With the studio.
Yeah.
He would just pay the engineer. He bought us lunch or a pizza, or maybe he gave us $25. I don't remember. But so that's how he made a living. They would basically take the master and distribute it, and he would get his piece, I'm sure. And you know what? Nothing ever hit, so we never saw anything anyway, probably. But that was his, MO. So, and then later he did Tiffany and all that stuff, and I did things with him later. But the Sharon Did Stay in Birmingham who wrote that? Do you have that right in front of you? Was that Donna Weiss? No.
Austin Roberts.
Oh, well, I knew him too, and I wrote something with him later. George had a knack of finding people, and Donna Weiss, who I mentioned just now, she ended up writing Betty Davis Eyes, which was a smash.
Yes,
what's
sure.
her name? What's the girl? I liked her too. I liked the record. So she wrote that. So she was hanging out with George.
Kim Carnes.
She wrote one of those. Kim Carnes, right? But she was a talented writer. But anyway, George was just trying things with us, with me, with Buddy, and trying to, But he was selling these records, and he threw us a few bucks. Now he threw me a few bucks once in a while, because John now and Buddy went out. Maybe Buddy split again. He did. When did Buddy leave again?
I have 70. I have 1970 he left.
About early 70s he left again.
Yeah. Well, listen.
And Buddy left right before the Mo West thing happened, which not right before, but a few months before. So that was unfortunate because,
Well, how about before we get even to the Lodi Mo West, can we listen to Sharon Stay in Birmingham?
Sure, you've got it. I'd like to hear it because I don't even know if I have a copy of that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm a sucker for the sitar. There's a little sitar in this song.
Okay, now I wonder who played that. Did I play it? He would rent a sitar. He would rent instruments, and I know I played mandolin on something. But sitar might have been Peter, this other guy that was playing on the tracks. But whatever.
Let's check it out.
Okay.
And here it is from Columbus Jones. I'm going to find out how you got that name after the song. Here's Beau Charles, Sharon Staying in Birmingham. Here we go. Sharon Stay in Birmingham by Columbus Jones. Hey, Beau, how did you come up with Columbus Jones as the name?
That's a question of the year or the century. I don't remember. I don't know where George had to dig that one up. Like I said, he was really trying to think commercially, you know what I mean? So he said, give it a weird name, give it a weird, he was just like that. And it worked for him in a lot of ways. Columbus, but I don't remember any input from on my part, thinking of Columbus Jones, but it's a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm amazed by you, by you rock stars who, you get asked these questions. So in 1967, in May 15th, what did you eat for breakfast, Beau? How do you remember even, But anyway.
It's amazing, though. John and I would just say, we have pretty good recall for the times. I mean, we're talking over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I do remember. I mean, there's a few things. John sometimes says something. I said, "Wow, I don't like." He said something that I forgot that we opened for the Everly Brothers at the Grand Hotel in Anaheim. It was a show room, and we were like the house band, and we were also featured. But they would bring in like bigger names on the weekends, and the Everly Brothers I said, wow, how do I not remember the Everly Brothers? But then I thought about it. I said, yeah, I do remember them now.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
and especially after Don just died, we were talking about the Everly Brothers because
sure,
we were fans of the Everly Brothers.
Oh,
of course.
Who wasn't, right? Really?
Yeah.
So
Columbus Jones, who knows?
Columbus Jones is somewhere in the stratosphere. Maybe someday we'll rain down and we'll see exactly where it came from. You know, actually, Beau, I'm sorry, I went out of order. You also recorded with Pawnee Drive.
Yeah, that was a little.
Yeah.
That was almost around the same time, within a year or two. I'm not. It gets a little vague in there. But
Yeah,
that was when I
all in that
playing
period.
clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point I went. George was kind of. He was trying to win me over, basically, to try to make records together because he liked my singing, and so I said sure. So I was kind of fed up with the clubs. Also, at that point, I think Buddy had left again. I don't remember, but so I wanted to give it a shot at making records. So I did. John went on and played a trio gig. He worked a power trio for a while I did this. So we made records, quite a few with George, and I don't know. We would talk about a song, or somebody would write something. He had like Austin Roberts or Donna Weiss, or and I even wrote one called "Good Times" that I recorded there at his little recording studio, and but I got a little nervous because I was still under contract to 4-Star, which was Challenge, so I kind of caved and sent them the demo because I wanted to make sure that George didn't steal it. George had a kind of a weird reputation. He would pull some fast ones.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get right to Mo West, but I have to play "Break My Mind." It really features you on vocals with Pawnee Drive. So can we check it out right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, "Break My Mind," the great Beau Charles. "Break My Mind." I'd love to make a point here, and I'm sure our listeners, will agree with me. You have such a varied, amazing musical catalog. You really do. I mean, it's amazing. No, it's so impressive. And does it bother you? Maybe this is not a fair question. When people say Knickerbockers, Lies, oh yeah, they were good. And they think that's all Beau Charles did. I mean, people in the know that there's so much more to you. But do you ever read something like that in a dumb article and say, what? Hey, I'm Beau Charles.
Sure. Yeah. Especially now with the internet, I love cruising and finding our videos and seeing what the comments are, because I like to know what people are saying.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, and 95% are very positive, and there's always a couple of jerks that say stupid shit like, "Why is the guy fat?" I mean, it's terrible.
I know.
It's stupid. Yeah, it's stupid. And then they don't even know what kind of a talented guy Buddy was. To say things like that. But most of it's very, like I said, positive. But there's a few negatives, like, oh, they ripped the Beatles off, and and you know what? I don't agree. We were influenced by the Beatle invasion, of course, the British invasion. Everything on the radio was the British invasion. So we said, maybe we should write something like that. So we tried, and we did. And you know what? It still sounds, it's an unusual song. I just read something. A guy did an analysis of the structure of that song, and I still can't. Even with the analysis, I can't. Like, what is that? The verse, or is that the chorus, or is that that's the what's that? What I mean? It kind of has a weird structure where a lot of guys say, "Geez, that must have been hard to memorize." Of course, it isn't for me or us. We could do it in our sleep, but who knows? But anyway, I love that song. And it is Beatlesque. We sounded me and John and Buddy, it sounded like the Beatles when we sang. And then when we did them live, we even put on English accents. We used to do a bit where we'd comb our hair down on a break.
Yeah, it may as well play up to it. I mean, if it's drawing your people. But I think I said early on in our conversation here, Beau, it's poppy. It's not the Beatles. Like the Beatles, I mean, the Beatles were poppy. They were like somebody else. I mean, later on they definitely,
they evolved.
Instigated different. Yeah, but I mean, early on they were as poppy as of the groups that came before them. So anyway, it's an unfair it's an unfair thing. But anyway, I guess if you're going to be compared to somebody, it's not bad.
But one thing that they can't compare to the Beatles and on our record of Lies is the track. The playing is pure New York or New Jersey, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Jimmy and John and I don't play like Ringo, John, and Paul. Or George, you know what I mean? The rhythms, we just played a harder edge thing. It doesn't sound like the Beatles playing behind.
That wouldn't be a Beatles song at that time period. You're right. Like you wouldn't hear that song on the Beatles album.
That was the Beatles tracks. I listen to their stuff sometimes. I go, Jesus, it's so good. You know, I mean, the mix, the separation, it's beautiful. It's art. You know, I mean, our song is art in a rougher way. You know what I mean? It was just we were just jamming. You know, we didn't figure out every fill for Jimmy and every note that my solo was finally on that take was the best one. So it was good. That was a solo that stayed on the record. I had a couple of earlier ones that weren't as good. So that's the way we played. I didn't rehearse the solo; it just happened right there in the studio. So the Beatles didn't do that as much, I don't think. And they were great. Believe me. Oh my God!
But Lies, the song, has so many hooks. You know, usually there's one hook in the song, but here's a hook. Wait, now there's another hook, and it's just a unique. It's a unique song.
To latch onto, and you know that's why it's lasted, and it's been in movies. Well, actually, London Boulevard was a movie that they used One Track Mind a few years ago. But we're still waiting for Lies to be in like a big feature. But it was in, it was done by that group in the girl movie. What's it called with Justine Bateman? With the girl group.
I even see the poster.
Satisfaction.
The pink writing, Satisfaction. Right. It was pink lettering.
That was a compliment. Anytime somebody covers your song, it's a huge it's flattering, and you feel great because that means other people think a lot of it, to do it.
Nancy Sinatra,
Styx.
Have you ever heard the Styx version, Beau? I'm sorry to interrupt her.
Yes, no, Styx, they were it's on the Man of Miracles album. It was. Yeah. I don't think it is on the reissues that they're doing now. But we were always, I didn't even know how many covers there were. The Black Bells did a version, Jack White produced this girl. Yeah. They did a version of Lies, which was really weird, but I kind of liked it because it was kind of weird and different,
It's got to be such a compliment.
So, anytime they cover your song, it's great. I'm hoping for Linda Ronstadt, of course, was probably the biggest artist for Nancy. Funny, I ran into Nancy in a restaurant. We were with my wife's boss. We had a really nice Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills. We're all drinking wine, having a great time, and sure enough, over in a booth, there's Nancy sitting with three fellas, probably her manager, or I don't know if it was anyway, everyone said, "Beau, go over and talk to her, say hello." And she did Lies, and we backed her up on a TV show. So I said, nah, I've been drinking. I don't want to go over there. I don't want to make stupid, But my wife, she was ballsy. So she went over and said, "Oh, my husband wanted to come over and say hello because you did a song his once, Lies, and da-da-da-da-da." And she said, "Oh, bring him over." So Patty came and got me. Patty came and brought me over. And I said hello. It was very short. I said, "Oh, da-da-da." I don't even know what we said, but she was very gracious, very nice.
She was probably more impressed in meeting you than you were of her because you're the man who wrote the song.
Well, if you ever do a YouTube, find her version of As Tears Go By. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but we back her up. It's on the Casey Kasem Shebang show. It's a TV show. But I learned the guitar part so I could look authentic playing behind her, and they put a spotlight on me as she's singing As Tears Go By. And it's a great video. I love it because the guitar work was great. It was by, I think, Billy Strange or some great studio guy.
I am definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, it's really good. And the other guys are in silhouette behind me, but they put the light on me because I was playing all the guitar parts. But I worked an hour on that while we were back in the dressing room before we even did the show. Tried to make it look good.
Yeah.
And I think that helped get because that was before her Boots album. I think that helped get Lies, that we did that for her, helped get Lies on her album. But Lies on that album was good. That was a big album.
And you think, I mean, and I want to get to the Motown stuff too, but do you ever, like, in your quiet moments, Beau, like sit on the couch or something and think, you know what, I've influenced a hell of a lot of people. I mean, it's got to be like a mind blower.
Well, and you know what? I'm a musician at heart all the way, and I love still, if I go into a music store to just strum on a few new guitars, and I still do that, I still like to do that. There's a young kid there, maybe 15, 16, just sometimes he'll react to what I'm playing, or I'll just say to him, I love that. And I've seen comments saying, you made me want to play, and that's one of my favorite compliments I could get, because I was a kid once that somebody inspired me to play.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a great thing to be able to do, because it'll stay with you your whole life.
Yes.
It's really it's a lot of fun, but it's also very through this pandemic. I mean, if I couldn't, I love that I could just go in my room and close it off if I want and play and maybe create something or get an idea or just strum. It's a great. I think everybody should play an instrument.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. And Beau, we're both going to live to 100, but long after you're gone, your music is going to live on. And that's a beautiful thing.
Well, I hope so. It's nice that I believe it was Sonny Bono who helped the copyright, because in the old days when I first started when we first wrote Lies and stuff, there was a copyright law of about 28 years, something like that. So that meant that Lies ran out 75 in 1993, I believe. But then they renewed the copyright, and they do. But some songs go to public domain. You're familiar with that, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so that means that the writers don't get anything now.
Yeah, you know what, Beau? I'm sorry, Beau. Just in case the audience isn't familiar with what happens with public domain, maybe you can give a little quick.
Well, basically, after a certain amount of time, I don't even know what it is anymore. But in the old days, it was probably 28 years. I don't even think you could renew it. It just went into public domain, which means they could record the song, they could play it, use it for a commercial, or and sell records on it, but not pay the songwriter.
Yeah.
It was like
that's fair. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so now Sonny Bono changed it to I think it's 45 years or 48 years. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know, I think my publisher they keep track of all that, because in 93, they even notified me that they renewed all the copyrights of my personal songs that I wrote with the Knickerbockers. Mm-hmm. And all the publishers do that because they know they don't want it to go to public domain. So I don't know how long they can do that, but if my kids get a couple of bucks from Lies when I'm gone, or my grandkids, I'd love that.
Yeah. We've mentioned a few times, or you did, especially when we were talking about your solo career. You played under the name Lodi, the band Lodi, with the the Motown label.
Yeah.
How about that period?
Yeah. Okay. Well, Lodi happened because Bob West, who was also a Wrecking Crew bass player, and he co-wrote and played on the song "I'll Be There" by Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. So he was a big force up there in Motown, and he wanted to produce a group, and he was looking for somebody to produce. And he ran into our drummer at a recording studio. Eric was there doing something else, and they got to talking. And Bob said, "Well, bring me a tape, and I'll bring it up to Mo West." Because Mo West was just beginning. They were just starting out Mo West label. So Eric came back and told me and John and Richie, was two other different guys now. It was me and John and Eric and Richie. So anyway, I started putting my songs together, and we cut about 5 of my songs on a Revox tape recorder, right, in Eric's living room. And it came out really well. We doubled the voices and sounded good. 5 songs, and we gave it to Bob, and he went up and kind of shopped it, and they liked it. So that's how we got in with Mo West, and they actually even gave us front money. They gave us we asked, I guess. They gave us $15,000 to sign. We never did that before. So we were thrilled, and we all went to the bank with that check, the 4 of us, and we said we want to split this 4 ways.
Yeah.
We went to the same bank, and a couple of them bought new cars. That was a lot of money in that was 70. You could buy a pretty nice car for $4,000.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, but that was, and then everything we recorded with them, by the way, was, we met Berry Gordy, of course. He was very into us. Mm-hmm. He liked our songs. He actually asked me about songwriting. We were all in a meeting. I swear to God, we're sitting out in a back lawn. We went for let's see what we not a pep talk, but like a meeting to figure out how we're going to promote this new band Lodi. They named us that, by the way. I think it was Lodi Express.
Oh, okay. You know, of course, right away I thought Lodi, New Jersey, but no.
Yeah, I know. And then the song Lodi.
Yeah,
but we I don't know. Yeah. We didn't really like it, but I don't know. We just went along, and we were interested in the music part. But Barry actually asked me. I made a joke. I said, "Yeah, I write my songs in the bathroom," and he got a laugh out. He said, "Really? Do you?" And no, I said, "No, I'm kidding." But I don't know. Anyway, there were people standing around him when he was talking to the four of us, the Lodi guys, and they were had little yellow pads and writing his ideas down, And maybe he named us Lodi right then. I don't even remember. But they were trying to figure out a direction for us. Basically, it was a direction meeting. Mm-hmm. And then we went in, and with Bob. Bob was there. He was our producer. He was, like I said, he wrote I'll Be There, co-wrote. And he played great bass. And he was a songwriter. Wrote really kind of like avant-garde, kind of almost Beatles stuff. And if you hear some of the Lodi stuff, you'll see what I mean. And we liked what he was doing. He was writing good stuff. So together with what I was writing and Bob was writing, and me and Richie were writing a couple, we had a lot of material. And we had carte blanche. We went to a great studio, Sunset Sound. Record Plant, I think. Yeah, Record Plant. With Dave Hassinger, who did the Stones, for God's sake. He was the engineer and the owner. Dave Hassinger did a couple of the Stones records or their albums. Okay, so. Wow, it was a good opportunity. We had good material. We recorded it all. We had an album done by the end of '70, right around the holidays.
And it was called Lodi, the album.
I have it right in my drawer. I guess it says Lodi on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? It never got released until later, because what happened was they weren't thrilled with the first version Bob brought them. They said, it's a little too artsy-fartsy or something, they said.
Excuse me.
And so,
but at the time, early 70s, that's what everything was, artsy-fartsy. I'm surprised.
He wrote artsy stuff, like Color of the Wind and Follow the Sky. Mm-hmm. We had a few songs like that. If I Happen to Be Like a Tree. Anyway, they thought it was too artsy. So we decided we wanted to thicken the vocals, so we wanted to fatten the vocals and make them a little more. And we went back, and the band basically wanted to make it better, so we insisted on going back and changing a few things. But then Bob fell out of grace with the echelon up there. What happened was, at some point right then, everybody got fired, or they decided to bring in a whole new crew. Of the higher-ups I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's when they brought in Suzanne DePass, who was into the Lady Sings the Blues project with Diana Ross. Diana Ross. Okay, so she wasn't. It was kind of like you hear about this. It's like all of a sudden our project, Lodi, got put on the back burner. And before they changed, we were on the front burner. So all of a sudden, no one was into what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird. It's like a corporation or something, you know what I mean? It was corporate. So all of a sudden the energy was off, and then Bob got in a big fight with one of the big higher ups, and he walked out, and then we tried to finish up. Then we finished up what we wanted to finish up in early '71, and we did a few more songs with Bob, a couple of more artsy, and then you know what? It all just went kaput, and the band we went, huh? And it was one of those things. They released one single, which was Happiness, and I hope I see it in my lifetime. Yeah. They liked Happiness. And they liked, they really thought it was a strong pop song,
I agree,
and
man.
I was happy, and had a shot. And they did release that, and it got a little play here and there, but whatever, it never happened. But
I'd love for us to play both sides, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I know. I like some of the other songs on Lodi are good too.
Yeah.
But this is the one I emphasize. I tried to I wrote John singing the lead on Happiness, and I'm doing the lead on Lifetime. But it was a group effort. We all played on it. It's all us playing. I thought they came off well.
Yeah. Before I play it, mm-hmm. Beau, just a nerd music lover question for you.
Sure.
I noticed that the writing credit was you used your real name, Robert Cicchino.
Robert Cicchino.
Was there anything behind that?
I'll tell you the reason that is when Lies was happening in the Knickebockers, we were using Beau and John Charles. I mean, that was our stage names. Mm-hmm. That's what that's who we were on stage. So I was Beau now. But anyway, my dad, he got ribbed at work, I guess. You know, he said, "Hey, Carlo, you know, how come the boys didn't use their real name?"
Oh, boy.
You know what I mean? He's Italian. You know, all his friends were Italian and Irish guys. You know, he was a truck driver. He was a regular blue-collar guy. Great guy. I miss him a lot. But he was a little, you know, he never insisted. But I promised to myself that if I ever got anything going again, I'd use my real last name. Mm-hmm. So I did. And in hindsight now, I kind of wish I hadn't, because I had a name as Beau Charles as a writer. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you don't want, who the hell's Robert Giacchino? Nobody's going to say, hey, Beau Charles, I remember that name. So in a way, maybe I shouldn't have, but.
No, you did it because you're a good son, Beau.
Yeah, you know, and he liked
absolutely.
it. He saw it.
Yeah.
He saw his name, and he liked that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did it, sure.
So let's check out two great sides, Happiness and I Hope to See It in My Lifetime. Beau Charles. Now, Beau, there is a perfect, this single, the A, I don't even know which is the A and B side, I guess, Happiness, but there is perfectly, and no pun intended, the two sides of Beau Charles. I mean, Happiness was such a poppy...
Happy song.
Yeah, it's a happy song, exactly. And I hope I see it in my lifetime. Now, for me, I love both songs, Beau, but this is my favorite of the two. I Hope I See It in My Lifetime. It's got a spiritual vibe going, you know, and I'm thinking to myself now, could I describe this as bittersweet? Because there's a feeling of yearning, yet of hope, like all knowing what we will enjoy. I hope I see it in my lifetime. There's a bit of sweetness to that. Is that the feeling you had when you wrote it, or was it just more of a positive vibe?
No, you nailed it. I mean, that's what I was going for. I wanted, because, you know, we all get disillusioned in life here and there, and things happen, and it can be a bummer sometimes. So the song is about that, and I kind of was idealistic. I would like to see a perfect world, kind of like, look at John Lennon. I mean, he wrote about stuff like that with Imagine. Yeah. And maybe that was part of the inspiration, because John, that's a great song, of course, sure. But yeah, because I thought, sometimes the world is ugly, and you wish it would be better, or, especially as of late. Yikes! I watch the news. It's like, oh my God, it's disturbing. Oh yeah. But I like what you said about it, and yeah, that song does put me in a peaceful place when I listen to it. I really do. And someone else, a couple other people have said that to me, and I like that.
Well, in '83 and then again in '90, the Knickerbockers reformed for a couple of periods of time. How'd that go?
Well, that was significant in that, well, Jimmy all of a sudden came to town. Now, I was living in an apartment in North Hollywood. John was in a band. My brother was playing. I was going there and hanging out and sitting in once in a while, but I wasn't in the band. Jimmy showed up, and he ends up, I said, come on, stay with me, because he was in town for a while. So I said, what are we going to do? And he said, let's get something going. And Jimmy wanted to get something going. So we went and saw, well, John, and then all of a sudden it's me, John, and Jimmy again, just like the old days. No Buddy. Buddy's back in Jersey. He was married then, and we weren't really talking. Not that we were angry, we just weren't in touch really. So anyway, we contacted Jerry Fuller right away, and me, John, and Jimmy went over there. We talked. Let's cut some demos. I had some songs, and Jimmy, John, and I wrote a song while we were here together. And I wrote 2 or 3 of the others. And Jerry said, whatever you got, come on in, we'll cut it. And Jerry had his own beautiful studio, Footprint Sound. It was right in the backyard of his house. In his remodeled garage it was more than a garage. It was a full-blown studio. He even had a string room upstairs.
Wow,
he lived there
nice.
for years. He still lives there. Now he rents it out as an Airbnb because he retired. Jerry retired a few years ago. But anyway, the studio was great. It was a 24-track or 36. I don't even know what it was. A great studio. We recorded our demos there, and we were going to get something going. And we gave the songs to somebody at not Sony, the ATV, I guess it was. And we hoped that they would hear something they liked. Well, anyway, the songs were good. I have a copy. We did pretty good. They came off good. We did a cover of the Animals, one of the ones. No, I sang it. One was a cover. 2 or 3 were originals I wrote, and Jimmy and I wrote, and John wrote another one. And there were kind of some Beatley, not Beatley, but pops stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
We couldn't get really any legs with it, because we never played live, which I always thought was weird when Jimmy was here. We could have did a trio gig easy because Jimmy sang, he played great drums, and me and John sang, and we both were, our chops were
Yeah, you had
up. We
everything
were ready to
covered,
go.
yeah.
But we never did it. And then it just all kind of, I don't know, Jerry was helpful. He let us use the studio, and, he gave us all his time and energy, and it didn't cost us anything. And Jimmy ended up staying with me for, many months. It was all through the summer of '83. We cut it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of fizzled, and nothing, and we didn't kind of make a plan, and Jimmy had to go back home. He was living in Northern California.
Yeah.
I guess he had to go back, and I was just doing commercials. I think I got Jimmy on one of the jingles. I was just a freelance guy. The phone rang, and they wanted me for something. I went, and that was still steady work. I mean, it was paying my bills, paying my rent.
Yeah,
I was solo then. I was not with a lady at the time. So we did some writing, Jimmy and I, but I don't know. Buddy was missed when we were recording those things. We missed Buddy. Maybe we should have called him and just said, "Come on out." That's what.
Yeah, but woulda, coulda, shoulda, Beau, right?
Yeah. So that all fizzed away, and then nothing. And then so that all went bye, and then I continued being my freelance guy. I met my present wife about a year later. That was good for me. John got married, and then John was still gigging clubs, and then I joined his band. Because it was something to do. Mm-hmm. The guitar player left, so I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And the money wasn't about the money; it was terrible money. But it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. We played covers, we played some new stuff. We were doing David Bowie songs,
Doing the things you love to do.
What?
Doing the things you love to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to play. We had fun. We had laughs. We had drinks. You know what I mean? So it was all good. And it got me out of the house, and I was, like I said, single. So then that all evolved. But then, Buddy, then let's go to 1990. All of a sudden, we decided to reunite because my nephew, he contacted me. They own a restaurant, nightclub in Delray Beach, Florida, and they said, "You guys want to come and do a revamp, a reunion?" And we said, "Yeah." So Jimmy came to town. Buddy came to town. We started rehearsing at my house, and we had a friend with a rehearsal room. We started rehearsing. We were booked. We're coming there to start playing. It was in June of '90. And and he opened, he had DJ coverage. He contacted radio stations. They were promoting us. It was like the old days. I mean, you were playing live on the radio, One Track Mind, and we had the opening night with all the DJs. All the local newspapers were writing us up. We opened. It was a gas. We knocked them. We were good. I mean, even though we'd rehearsed for maybe a couple of weeks, but we were quick. We were maybe a little shaky the first night, but they never noticed.
Was it kind of like riding a bike? Like as soon as after that first night, it all just kind of fell back?
Yeah, well, yeah. We did get together the next day just to take a few of the rust, a few of the problems out. But it was like the old days in that, wow, the four of us are together again. It was literally 25 years later. It was 1990, from 65 to 90, 25 years. Right. So we still looked all pretty good. And we were dressing nice, and we lived upstairs. It was like that first gig we did in Glens Falls. So we could come downstairs in the morning and go right to the bandstand and plug in and mess with stuff if we want. And we did. And we ate there because it was my nephew's place. He owned a joint. We ate. They fed us. We all gained weight because it was a great restaurant, Italian food, prime rib. And we could order anything we wanted at night. And then we just went upstairs and took a shower, then changed and came back down and played the gig. Mm-hmm. And it was a great gig. And we had people come and see us, and we almost went to Vegas after that because some agent got interested. That never happened. Fizzled out.
I think I know the answer to this. My next question, Beau, is, but yeah. I'm sure you still write music. How can you?
Yeah,
how can you not?
I have a nice recording.
It's in your blood.
A nice 16 track. Yeah, I record I try to finish off, but mostly I'm writing instrumental stuff.
Yeah.
Like just chords and beautiful. I try for the beautiful melodies, or try to get some kind of a cohesive thing. And I play them nicely on the guitar, so it's pleasant to listen to. Who knows? Is it earth shattering? I'm not going for that. I'm not trying to write a pop song. No.
You write to make yourself
for my own, for
make
my
yourself
own ears,
feel
really.
good, yeah.
And I play it for people, and they all like it. So that's good.
Well, you know what, Beau, we're gonna wind it up here. But you mentioned pop song. A song that you chose to close it out with is to me a perfect pop song. Just One Girl, written by you. What can you tell us about that as we tie it up?
Basically, my whole the whole energy of that is when Lies was a hit. I said I want to really write this second song. I want to write the follow up, and I listened to Lies and basically mirrored a lot of it to Just One Girl. I had a big I lined a big opening. It's such a like Lies was then and Lies.
Right.
So I was trying to kind of get the energy and the attention right away. So I basically really tried to write the follow up, and that's what Jimmy thought. Jimmy loved it. Buddy loved it. We all loved it. But they liked One Track Mind. So, whatever. It was a good, they were funny, Challenge thought Lies was a negative song. You've read this probably somewhere. They were kind of like, everything had, it was a hit, for Christ's sake,
Yes.
So we're saying lies. And they said, it's negative, it's a very negative.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
We had issues with it right away. So, One Track Mind I liked over Just One Girl, but I think Just One Girl would have did good. But who knows? But that's why I wrote it, and that was what I wanted to happen. It ended up coming out way later on the flip side of Chapel in the Fields, which we hated. Yeah,
you had mentioned that. Yeah,
but they insisted we cut that, and we did. We did a good job,
of course,
and all that.
And we used to
Buddy made a joke. He says, "Let me take a crap out in the fields again." That's what he called it. Buddy was very witty. He was witty, but. Anyway, so that was what I wanted to do. That's what I hoped the song would be. Exclusive we'll never know now.
Well,
and James Burton is playing rhythm on this from Elvis,
unreal,
guitar player.
And Ricky
and
Nelson.
He was looking at. I remember he was sitting right next to me, and he didn't. I didn't write it. I might have wrote a chart for him, just a chord chart, but he learned it quickly. But I was basically just banging the shit out of my guitar and he just found a little spot to do a little something. He did a little offbeat, like a rhythm piece, but he was looking at us like my God, because it was really fast. The song was
right, yeah,
and it was like that from beginning to end. So I don't know, he wasn't subtle, that's for sure. So he was kind of looking at us like, wow, I think he couldn't keep up with it. It was like we were on going 90 miles an hour.
Right, yeah. Just before we give the song a spin, I want to reiterate what a total thrill it's been to speak with you, Beau. Like it's always so special when I actually get to speak to one of my musical heroes and find out he's even better than I expected, and that's just what this was. So I can't thank you. I can't thank you enough, Beau. You're
a
great
pleasure
guy
too, man. And I didn't even ask you this, but you're Jersey. I mean, you've been there all your life, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Hudson County in North Bergen, and now my wife and I live in Fort Lee.
And then you
in
went
Bergen
to Fort
County.
Lee.
And when Fort Lee
we used to go to some music meetings in Fort Lee, and one of our sax players was from Fort Lee, Louis Massa. He was early. He was back in like 1960.
My house is literally 5 minutes from where Palisades Park used to be. Did the Knickerbockers ever play Palisades Amusement Park?
I think we did. Jesus, let me think. I'm not. You know what? I have to ask John that one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I went to Palisades Amusement Park. We loved it. When I was a teenager in high school.
Of course.
We went there and had lots of laughs and fun. You think. I mean, we saw people perform there. Like we saw what's his name. Down at Palisades Park.
Oh, Freddie Cannon. Boom Boom Cannon.
Yeah, Freddie Cannon was big then, and I think we might have saw the Duprees there.
I know Leslie Gore played there. Yeah.
I bet she did.
I didn't see her there, but I know she played there. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I'll ask John sometime, and we'll see.
Classic pop culture, pop culture. Hosted by Steve Ludwig. I'm glad you're here. Classic pop culture. It's classic pop culture. Classic pop culture.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.